Xbox guy or some shit like that.
Well, you
Yeah, because
are.
that's the reason why. That's the reason why you can't remember what day Wednesday falls on.
No, I remember what day Wednesday is. I was just asleep.
Yeah, that's what they always say.
Uh,
That's what all gay Xbox guys say.
we are live,
Yeah.
by the way. So.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
Oh, yeah.
you're getting good at that, Pete.
Yeah.
You're gonna be the new Brimstone.
Me share it all out. Make sure every just to say y'all go.
Yeah. You guys see Elon Musk on Twitter?
Yes, and I hope to God that comes true.
Wait, what's going on Twitter?
Elon Musk said he's thinking about creating a social media site.
That's right.
Yeah, I want that to happen. And did you see the journalist reaction to it?
Oh, dude, they're pissed.
Yeah, they're like, oh God, it's fucking hilarious because they're worried as hell that that's actually going to happen. And who better to make it happen than him? Because he has the money just to say,
He's got the
all right, make
money,
it happen.
the time. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I love
And he
this.
doesn't.
I've just had it with the sanctimonious journalists who appoint themselves protectors of the public interest and yet believe the same public is too stupid and immoral to assess their credibility. It's amazing that you don't understand how insufferably hypocritical that is. Fucking, oh, dude. Perfect. And then, of course, a bunch of sanctimonious pricks commented on how the public can't be trusted to judge their credibility. Best timeline ever.
He quit though.
it really is.
No, I can't wait. I hope to God he does it. I'll be joining that site quicker than shit.
Right?
I'll be making the CNN's ratings look like shit.
If he did that and called it shitter like they do on South Park, Pete would join it. Right?
Well, I'd join it regardless.
So you would join? You won't join Twitter, but you'll join shitter.
Well, yeah.
So if Twitter changed their name to shitter, would you still join?
No.
Oh.
It doesn't have to do with the name.
Somebody from his publicist is.
Oh.
How about that Battlefield 5?
Oh, God.
Oh God, man, I've heard so much shit about that. I don't even give a shit. Like, women were like, they're not focusing on the American campaign, so women were in the other, like the French and the European one, but since the game never actually said we're like, because Call of Duty came out long before World War II was announced and said that they were. When they announced it, said they, went to all these different places for historical accuracy, and they wanted to make sure the game was able to recapture the historical accuracy. And so when they had like the black female Nazis, that was a little bit, what the fuck? You said you wanted realism, and then all of a sudden you went to this. Well, Battlefield never said they was going for historical accuracy. So I mean, they could put whatever they
Well,
wanted.
they did say they were going for immersion.
Yeah, but immersion is immersion. I mean,
I don't know. It's kind of.
You can't have women there.
I agree with the people saying it's kind of hard to be immersive in a World War II game if you've got a chick with a bionic arm that looks like it should be out of Fortnite.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to be immersed in Battlefield anyway, considering you can jump out of a plane, snipe somebody in another plane, land in their plane, and take off.
Yeah.
I mean,
someone didn't like The Last Action Hero.
I love The Last Action Hero.
No, Rambo.
Oh.
For a guy that calls himself Rambo, I would think jumping out of a plane and sniping someone,
Well, no, I'm just saying you can't. That's not immersive. I mean, that wouldn't be, because that's not realistic. Like, there's no way in hell that could happen in life.
Yeah, but that's game mechanics, though. There's a big difference between game mechanics and, like, setting. I don't know. It seems like they're getting pretty crazy on the, because I heard something about, like, pink shit.
Well, no, that was actually real. There was actually like bright blue paint and stuff like that, and that actually was real because there's actually pictures of those people, and they had the same kind of looking paint on their faces.
Man,
I don't know
I could
who
just see them
exactly
going
it
crazy.
was.
They said there's no season pass, and there's no loot boxes, but there will be paid the cosmetic. No, cosmetics. All the DLC is going to be free, or all the extra content is going to be free, and there's not going to be any loot boxes, but there will be paid cosmetic items. And I can just see them going like crazy, like I said, Fortnite level, where, you know, there's 20 different you can put mechanical arms that you can put on your character. I'm not sure if that's the right way to go for them.
Well, I mean, it's probably better than. I mean, they're trying to figure out a way to still make money off of it, but not disrupt the entire community again. So they've got to figure out a way to do that. I mean, I guess this is gonna be more trial and error on their part to see if this works for them.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty tired of World War II anyway, so I don't think I'm gonna get it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I kind of had enough myself of the like old-fashioned wars. Like, you can only get the M1 Garand or whatever so many times in in different games before it's like, oh, this again.
Yeah, I'm tired of. First of all, I'm just tired of like first-person shooters, and like since Black Ops isn't having a campaign, I'm skipping both of them. Like I mean, the campaign on Battlefield 5 is going to be the same one that was on Battlefield 1. And
but updated with new characters.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously in the setting that they're using, but I hated the damn Battlefield 1 campaign. It was stupid, like the scenarios, and you can actually change the outcome of. Yeah, and you could change the outcome of the war depending on how you played the scenario. So, like, I guess however you play them can actually change the outcome of actually what happened. But I mean, I don't know. People are saying that, like, why are you bitching about women whenever you can literally change the way World War II has actually happened by playing your small campaign bits, differently. And I mean, they got a point. I mean, like I said, I don't care about women being on the cover. It doesn't bother me. I think that, I mean, I don't even know if I'd even care if they put just nothing but women in a World War II game. I just don't know if that would really bother me at all.
I forget who it was. It was in an Xbox party with me and a couple of other guys today. But who's to say that women were not in World War II? Maybe not fighting for the United States of America, but I mean, who's to say that they weren't fighting for other countries? We don't know that.
Well, they were.
Okay, then. And what's the problem with women in World War II games?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, they weren't on the front lines. Russia had a few in their sniper division, and there were some in the French resistance.
Then, of course, I mean, the only thing we're going off is record books and stuff like that. But I mean,
well, first-hand accounts too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we all know that first-hand accounts can change over time. But I mean, still, the record books, and back then, I mean, they didn't. I mean, who knows if the person keeping records wanted to give the women, with the women credit for what they did, or the black people credit for what they did, whenever they didn't technically have to. So I mean, I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all. Like I said, now if they like the one that Call of Duty did bother me, because you cannot have. I mean, a black female Nazi just throws everything off like that. Like there's absolutely literally no way for that to fucking happen. Like I get you want women in the game, but just put women on the fucking United States side. No, I mean, there's no reason
more
to put.
believable than having a black female Nazi. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the black character that played the person, whatever, I think anybody in the black community that wanted, quote unquote representation would have rather been an American than a fucking Nazi. I mean, it just seems kind of. It just seemed weird, Like, yeah, we'll appease you, but we're gonna give you the Nazi. That just.
That's insulting, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't complain about there being too many black women in Call of Duty, like in Far Cry 5.
Yeah. Well, from like what ends up happening is like you give them what they want, and then they bitch because you gave them too much of what they want. But I don't understand the men that are complaining. But men, I mean, there's a lot of these same men complained about Horizon Zero Dawn and Tomb Raider or whatever, and it's like, why somehow playing as a woman like hurts their masculinity, which I don't understand.
See, I didn't see anybody complaining about Horizon Zero Dawn or Tomb Raider.
Oh, there was.
See,
there was a ton.
That's why
on Twitter, at least.
Like on any of the gaming subreddits or any of my Facebook groups, I never saw one person complaining about either Horizon Zero Dawn or Tomb Raider or Bayonetta or any of those. So I can't say that it's I'm sure there are some guys that exist that do complain whenever there's a woman in a game, but I never see it to the level that I see in this. So when I see it, it's not so much that it's a woman, it's that it's blatantly pandering. And that's what everybody I see complaining about. That's what they're complaining about.
But see, that's the problem is how do you know it's pandering?
Well, that's it. You never can, but you can guess.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like people are saying that it's pandering, but how can you say that it is? Because to me, what they've shown doesn't seem out of the question that could have happened in that the other campaigns and stuff, because like we never witnessed that every campaign going on in World War II. But I mean, it's not like I guess if they would have showed like a whole squadron full of women, yeah, I'd be like, yeah, that's pandering. But this is the one woman, and she was British, so I mean, it definitely could have happened. But now what I've seen people say that makes it think of them pandering is that you can buy the one with the man on the cover, you just got to pay more money.
I saw that, yeah. The digital deluxe version. Is it the digital deluxe version, or is it just the regular deluxe?
Deluxe version.
It's the deluxe version.
The digital doesn't, yeah. And to me, that seems pandering to me. Whenever you if she's good enough for the cover, then like I've never seen them do two different covers, one for the deluxe and one for
at least not so. Like usually it's the same people, it's just in a different pose or something.
Yeah, but this is a completely different character, which seems like we really wanted to put the man on there, but here this is it or something. I don't know. It just seems weird to me.
There was also a couple of the head, or at least one of the head devs on Twitter was coming out, and he was using a whole bunch of buzzwords, inclusivity, and what was the other?
Well, yeah, when you start using like inclusivity, that means that you're including people just for the sake of including people.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like the trailer hadn't even. God, it's like, how do you know it's pandering? It's like, well, you know, you never really do, but when the lead dev comes out, when the trailer hasn't even been out for, I don't even think it was a couple of hours, and he was, you know, came out basically saying, you know, all these guys bitching about a woman being in there, you know, you're all misogynist losers, and we wanted to be inclusive, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I'm tired of the whole fill a quota bullshit. Like State of Decay 2. I'm like an hour into that shit now, and I don't have hardly one good thing to say about it. Just when you're starting up the damn game, there's a lesbian couple that you can pick as like the people you start as.
God.
For no fucking reason whatsoever. Like, unless one of their fucking vages save the post-apocalyptic world, there's no reason to have a lesbian couple to pick from to start. None at all. I'm fucking tired of it.
That's like I got that that early access game, which is not all that great, but it's kind of a Left 4 Dead, but sort of futuristic-y. It's like aliens instead of zombies, pretty much, with a few like Fortnite or maybe Rainbow Six Siege type things where you can build barricades and stuff like that. And, you know, the four characters, there's one white guy, and of course he's a beer-gutted, rednecky neckbeard. And then there's an Asian dude, a black dude, and some chick. And it's just it's like one of those diversity, you know, work posters where they've got to check off one of each race.
I hate that shit, man. It's happening more and more.
Ugh.
I've seen some gameplay that State of Decay 2, and it just looks boring.
It is. I mean, I went in expecting basically a clone from the 360 version. Yeah. And that's the one good thing I have to say about it, is it's not a clone. The mechanics are better. It looks smoother. But that's it. That's the only good fucking thing I got to say about it.
It's still boring?
Dude, it's boring as fuck. And especially if you don't have several friends to play with all the time, it's like Sea of Thieves. It's like, why bother?
There was one clip that somebody uploaded to YouTube or uploaded to Twitter that these people were having a conversation about their supplies. And they ran into a group of zombies, and while they were punching these zombies and like hitting them with shit, they were just carrying on the conversation like normal. It was like, yeah, we need some just beating the shit out. We need some gas, and like, what the hell? Like that doesn't even make sense
whatsoever.
Yeah, when it's a good guy, it's like, we need some. Oh shit! Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, definitely, I'm glad that that's a Game Pass thing.
Oh, poor Xbox.
Although I kind of feel like they should put like a better game on Game Pass to kind of compensate for everyone that got Game Pass for fucking Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2.
They don't have one.
At this point, I don't care if it's like a 360 game or something. They need to put something on Game Pass that's like a service seller. I mean,
yeah, I mean, they like as of right now. I mean, like they're saying they're going into their E3 with like a 2-hour show, and they're not holding anything back. I guarantee
you show fucking 10 new controllers. Jesus.
I guarantee it's going to be more of the same shit they did last year, talking about we have 43 exclusives, and it's console launch exclusive, console launch exclusive, console launch exclusive. And it's like, you're not really exclusive. I mean, if you're letting people know that, hey, if you just wait just a little bit longer, you can get on your preferred platform, there's no incentive to buy your platform. And usually if you wait, you get a better deal because by the time it's been out, like say 6 months to a year, they'll sell you like the complete edition for like $10 or $20 cheaper than what the base edition was whenever it first launched. And I don't know. I mean, it just seems to me like that Xbox I don't know. They're fighting up a fucking losing battle right now, and they're going to have to combat not only the bad press they're leaving this generation with, but then combat the like positive Sony press going into PS5 and continuing on. So where they're going downhill and somebody's going uphill, it's not really going to change going into the next generation unless something happens on Xbox's part that can kind of flip the script. Because I hope they've gotten the point that power doesn't sell.
Man, I hope they stop looking so far ahead and look like right now. Like it seems to me that they're just like they're already laying down like they've been beaten, and they're waiting. They're coming up with a plan or whatever for next generation. Fuck next generation. What are you going to do about this generation?
Yeah, especially with the fact that this generation for them probably isn't over for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they need to sell me an Xbox One X still. I mean, so it's not over.
Well, there's a rumor around that there might be a new half step coming up next year for Xbox.
What, the XYZ? What the fuck are they gonna call this one?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, like to me that if they did that, that would be like almost suicide for them.
Because that's a slap in the face to everyone that bought fucking the X.
Yeah, but I mean, they're rolling up on like all the bad press for the game's problems, and then launching another platform 2 years after, the previous $500 platform. That would not look good at all.
The only way I could see that working for like any company, not just Microsoft.
Oh yeah, that's not.
When you buy something, of value, like a premium product, as all these YouTubers like to call it, you can register that product 9 times out of 10 with whatever manufacturer makes it. And if Microsoft, in this case, Microsoft, were to send whatever they decide to make to everyone that registered their Xbox One X free of charge, maybe. But they're not going to do that.
Or if they gave them at least a huge fucking discount for like returning it, like sending it to Xbox and then having them send them the new one for like a way discounted fee. That might help save that. But I mean, that's not gonna. I don't know. I mean, like even with Sony's good press right now in their games, like if they would have launched a PlayStation 4 Pro, 2 years after the Pro, I think it would have definitely killed off the momentum of the PS4. And I'm tired of people saying that like PlayStation launched the Pro as a way to extend the generation. The Pro was always meant for a way to help with to get the best out of the VR. Well, it's always the way. It's always been like to help the VR run better. And then
thought it was for the enthusiasts.
No, I mean they said that they wanted.
Well, probably that too.
Yeah, I mean that. Like obviously those were the other people, but the main reason for them to launch it was to help the VR run better. But to me, I mean, I don't know. I'd be okay with, because I guess the PS4 is closing its life cycle by 2021, so we're probably expecting a PS5 in 2019 or 2020, and I'm cool with that. Halo Storm, you're wrong. Maybe for Xbox, but for PlayStation, it's not starting in 2021.
Do we have confirmation of that though?
That it's not?
Yeah.
Yeah, Don Cordera said that they will support the PlayStation 4 until 2021, and that what's it called? That they're already in plan, working on the PS5, and it should. They said that the PS4 is nearing the end of its life cycle, and that and they actually said that because the PlayStation 4 support to 2021 doesn't mean the PS5 is launching in 2021. So obviously, if they're ending support for the PS4 in 2021, and they said that doesn't mean that the PS5 is launching then, so that means the PS5 has to launch before. So I'm thinking probably 2020 for PS5. No, Ryan, that's what some people that didn't read the entire, not you, but the journalist that didn't read it, listen to the entire thing.
Yeah, there was
They
something on Reddit that specifically said it, like, because the line was PS5 will be coming in 3 years or something like that, but that was
Yeah.
that was not what was said.
Yeah, they heard what they wanted to hear, and then they quickly wrote up an article and to be like one of the first ones out there, and they screwed up with that one, because if you actually listen to it, he was talking about like leading up into the PS5 and then leading up into the end of the support for the PS4. So he was kind of like laying out the plans for both, but they kind of jumbled them all together that said PS5 2021, and that's not what he said.
Still awfully soon though.
It's not really. We're used. I mean, the consoles life cycles are usually 6 to 7 years. The only oddball was the one last year or last generation where it lasted 10 years because of the financial crisis.
Well, no, because even PS1 to PS2 was longer than that.
No, wasn't it 6 years?
Was it really?
Yeah.
I guess it just felt longer then, or something.
Yeah, because I could have swore it was more like 8 or 9.
Mm-mm. It launched in 1995 in America, and then the PS2 I think launched in actually 2000, March 4th of 2000. Oh, actually, wait, November 24th in 2000. So it actually was 5 years.
When did PS3 launch?
I think it was 2007. I think. Let me see.
No, I thought it was 06.
06, yeah. November 11th, 2006. So that was 6 years. 5 years for PS1, 6 years for PS2, and then it was 10 years for
maybe
PS...
it seems so much longer because there wasn't anything in between. There was no PS1 Pro or anything like that.
We got fucking spoiled with last generation. That's what it is. It lasted fucking 10 years.
Actually, it lasted.
Well,
I mean,
hey,
if you look at it, now, the PS3 launched in 2006, and then the PS4 launched in 2014, so 8 years, or 2013. Yeah. It was 7 years. But I mean, that's not the typical life cycle, though. Of the
no, it's longer.
Yeah, a lot longer. So, like I said, the PS4 Pro wasn't meant to extend the generation, so they're going off basically the base PS4. And the Xbox, I mean. Halo, you're confusing me with somebody who cares about power. If I wanted power, I would have just stuck with my my PC.
Oh, he was gonna say Xbox.
No, I would have stuck with my PC, or even bought my multi-platform the X when I had it. I don't.
Oh, I am GPU list now.
You're what? Oh, you sold your GPU.
I sold my 980 Ti.
Nice.
What'd you get for it?
Not a whole lot.
I was gonna say prices have pretty much calmed down.
No, see what I did is I went and gave it to Metro. He handed me $50 cash from a while back. I owed him $100. We call it even there, and he's gonna give me $50 more next month. So it's not really. Yeah, it's just I wasn't using it. The dude live streams his ass off, and I knew he could use it. So yeah, I just did that.
Hey Ryan, I know that they definitely don't go off the past life cycle. They don't really go, okay, well, we had a 5-year cycle, a 6-year cycle, and a 7-year cycle, so we're gonna do 8 this time. I mean, they don't. I know they don't do that, but if you pay attention to PlayStation, they usually start off a little slower with the exclusives, and then during the course, you'll see them all ramp up, and then we've already had all of basically launched except the remaining ones that are left. And so you will see that's whenever the life cycle starts wearing down, and then they'll start launching another platform again.
Well, I have an interesting bet we can all take, us and the audience, and that is, what do you guys think will happen first? Next generation of consoles or Kingdom Hearts 3? I'm going with Kingdom Hearts 3.
Kingdom Hearts 3 because it's coming this year. I think this year.
Oh, dude, they've said that for how long now?
Well, yeah, but I mean, they actually have a workable, they invited the press to play it and everything, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that part.
Yeah. Halo Storm, No, the fanboys are the ones that really say it like like power matters. If you look at the numbers, it just doesn't add up. If power mattered and power made any difference in the world, the Xbox would have sold more than what they sold. More people would have bought the Xbox One X. I mean, power just simply does not matter. Like that's the Xbox One X isn't outselling the Xbox One S, so even the Xbox gamers aren't really concerned about.
Well, I think it's a matter of scale too, because the Xbox One X is not that much more powerful than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Now, if it was like twice as powerful, that might make a whole. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it would have in this generation. If they were jumping from generation to generation, yes. But if you're jumping from this generation to a mid jump, regardless of how powerful that mid jump is, I don't think people would really care, because as long as their system that they spent $200 on was able to play the games, that's really what matters to most people, is just being able to play the games.
Even with PC components that, add blah, 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 and are, have more teraflops than whatever, like, to me, that's always just been like a flashy billboard. Like, it doesn't mean shit. It's
it doesn't. It doesn't.
Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, well, it's a preference thing, is I guess what I need to say.
And Halo, if you heard 1080p make you a better gamer for 4 years, then that's the people you're talking to. Like that's a you problem, because that was said one time, and that was it. So if the people you're talking to from the PS4 side keep saying that to you, then hey, I mean, you're talking to the wrong people. Because most of them people that say that shit like that, I guarantee you look at their PSN ID or their Xbox ID, the ones talking about, oh, native 4K, all this stuff. You look at their Xbox IDs and their PSN IDs, they probably barely ever game, if they game at all. Like the majority of the gamers, the only thing that really matters to them is, can I play the games? That's it. In fact, I mean, if, like, say the PlayStation 5 launched next year, but everything they were making until 2021 was able to be playable on the PS4, the PS5 numbers would be low, because gamers just be like, I don't have to buy a new system to play these games. Why should I?
Well, I think that's largely in part because performance is so limited on the consoles anyway. Because it's not. It's not like.
It's just because people don't want to. I mean, people aren't going to spend a bunch of money so that way they can get some extra blades of grass and.
Well, but that's the thing. It depends, because for say a PC upgrade, you wait 10 years to upgrade or something, and you upgrade your video card to something that's real modern compared to your 10-year-old stuff, and you can gain hundreds of frames per second, whereas if you're talking about the jump between an Xbox One and an Xbox One X, you're talking about a few games that can maybe do 60 frames a second at 1080p instead of.
I don't know why you're focusing on the frames per second. That's not.
Well, but that's because that's a number. Because that's a number. That's.
Yeah, but most console gamers don't give a shit about frames per second.
Well, that's my point though. They might if their games were running like 10 FPS.
Well, yeah, but no game's running 10 FPS.
Well, that's my whole point. Because of the way consoles work, you don't get it like where it's on a PC, where like if your rig is old enough, sure, you can get a game to play, but it'll be like 10 or 15 frames per second. But then you upgrade your hardware to something more modern, and you can get 60, 100, or even more. Or you can turn the graphics all the way up to ultra. That's the thing. Like, there's not the way everything's coded and the way everything's designed to run on the consoles. If the game is made for the console, at least it'll. Well, not always. There's some outliers, of course, but at least it'll be 30 frames a second and playable. So I think that does change the way people look at upgrading when you're talking about from a console perspective.
Well, I mean, even if you look at the fucking the PC perspective, the majority of gamers are gaming on just mid-range cards.
Sure, But
I mean, the power is not the end all be all. I mean,
no,
if
no,
power
no.
was
I
the end
never.
all be all,
No, no. Come on. I never said that.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about just like the whole argument that the most powerful console in the world, the most powerful, whatever GPU in the world, that stuff doesn't matter for the large majority of the major portion. The major portion, people care more about, can I play the game?
If it was more like PCs though, where some of the games coming out, let's say there was a big difference between the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One S versus the originals. If a good portion of the games were only able to get 15 or 20 frames per second in a lot of areas, and then 30 frames per second in when you're not in combat, but then if you upgraded to the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One S, you could get a guaranteed 30. That'd be a big game changer as far as whether people would upgrade or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, to me, I don't know. Console gamers are weird because if you talk to most of them, they don't give a shit if it's, as long as it's they can deem 20 frames per second playable. Whereas like you are like, hell no, I won't touch a game that's 20 frames per second.
Slideshow.
But see, I mean, that's the big difference between console gamers and PC gamers, and that's where the difference goes for why people jump over to the PC versus the console, is because they can have I guess more control over their gaming experience. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't think that console gamers, because most console gamers buy a console to play the games, and if their console quits playing the games, like whenever the new generation starts, and they have to buy the new generation, of course they go out and buy it.
Well, that's okay. So I wonder how many would, let's say that they didn't, let's say that, starting with the PS3, they made a commitment that without regard for quality, every game released on the PS4 would be playable on the PS3, or say for the PS5.
You wouldn't have had a huge
even if the games dip down to 10 FPS or 15 FPS.
But they wouldn't have. That's the thing.
Well, but
it's because they don't just put out a copy and then let your GPU sort it out.
Well, but let's say that they did.
But they don't, though.
Well, but
I'm only going off of what, like, whenever the people say power matters on the console side, I'm going after like real world examples, not just like a hypothetical as if it was like possibly like the PC or whatever. I'm going off of like what consoles are.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if it wasn't like that, I wonder if you would see that change.
I don't know. It's not something that console gamers have to worry about.
I would be curious to know if they really, if playing it, just being able to play it, like to the physical part where you can put the disc in or download the game and it would actually show up on the screen. I wonder how much that would, to what degree would that still hold true as the performance got worse and worse? I'd be curious to know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't have to worry about that with consoles. That's the beauty of consoles.
Well, you might, with Xbox committing that the Xbox One will be able to play.
I don't give a shit about the Xbox because, like, unless they come out with something just mind-blowing or new and fresh, any of their IPs that they have don't interest me at all. Like Halo, Gears, Forza. The only one that interests me is like Forza Horizon. But then again, I mean, that's becoming a kind of a stale franchise because we're already on the third one of this generation coming up this year. It's like that, like they're releasing it every other year. So to me, that just becomes tiresome after a while, having to basically buy another $6 game that you just bought 2 years ago for basically just a different location.
Yeah, having a racing game as one of your main flagship games, it just doesn't seem. I don't know.
When it comes to their other titles like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay and Crackdown, like I can give a shit less what anything about those games. So I mean, Xbox might suffer from that, like on the next one, we'll have to see how they, what they do. But I honestly think that they'll basically make the Xbox One X the base, and basically say anybody who like you can play on the Xbox One X or the Xbox One XYZ. And then, the next time go forward like that with the next one. But now on the PS4, it'll be actually the PS5. It'll be a generational thing, and so that we won't have to worry about like the shitty quality or being basically forced to upgrade or whatever.
Well, you would be in that you have to buy a PS5.
Well, for the new games, but I mean forced to upgrade because of the poor quality.
Well, I'm really hoping that they don't do this like gen refresh every fucking generation.
Oh, they're going to now. They've gotten away. They're gotten away with it once. They're going to every time now.
Well, I don't think that you like PlayStation will, because PlayStation. I mean, they might. I'm not saying that they won't, but for sure. But like the only reason this mid-gen refresh came out for them was because of the PSVR. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue that after the fact. But I don't know. I mean, like these new gen or mid-gen refreshes didn't sell all that well. I mean, of course they sold, but I mean, in comparison to their base counterparts,
I don't know. You bought 8 of them.
Well, that doesn't mean it sold well. It just sold at my house well.
You could have been. You could be personally responsible. You could have been that last number. If you hadn't have bought those 8, they would have been stuck at like 999,996.
I'm okay with the mid-gen refreshes. I'll buy them.
But because of Rambo, it's over 1 million, and they were like, "Oh, it sold good enough. Let's do it again."
And yeah, Ryan, like the same thing here. Whenever I bought the PS4, apparently it was the most powerful console in the world at the time. I didn't even know anything about it. Like it didn't bother me at all. I don't ever buy my consoles based on which one's more powerful. I buy them based on the games that I know that are coming, and I can never go wrong with like the PlayStation games because they give me what I want.
Well, it's especially hard to tout power if, I mean, forget exclusives for a second. If the games that are on your system, even third parties and shit, if they can't take advantage of that power to do anything that's truly noticeable, then there's really no point. And I'm sorry, but I don't think checkerboard 4K at shitty frame rates is enough. Now, if the Xbox One X could do true 4K at 60 frames a second, and it came with all sorts of extra visual enhancements, like real extra quality lighting or super good particle effects or something like that, well, that might have been something different. The people who really care about graphical fidelity would have said, well, shit, if I buy the Xbox One X, then my Call of Duties and my Battlefields, they're going to look super, super nice. But it couldn't do that.
No, it's noticeable between the S and the X, but the difference between the Pro and the X isn't as great as what it needed to be to make people go, wow, I need to get over there to that console.
And really, even between the S and the X,
it's really not all that much.
Yeah, it's really not.
No, I mean, but even between the Pro and the base PS4, it's really not all that much either.
Yeah, if you're gonna go for a mid-gen refresh, then you really should go for something that's very noticeable. I mean, it's like putting out a sequel to a game, and in between the sequels, the graphics, you can't tell the difference. And it's like, well, then why'd you even make a sequel? You should have just made a DLC pack or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Whenever it comes to the concept, like in the beginning, like the reason why power was so touted in 2013, just like it always is in the beginning, like basically back in 2006 and 2007, and like it was back in the Super Nintendo days and all that, is that whenever the systems first launch and they come out with a library of 5 or 6 games, each thing, then what people look at is the differences in the system and how much money each system costs and, you know, price per value. And whenever you looked at the base PS4 and it was more powerful than the base Xbox One and it was $100 cheaper than the base, you know, the base Xbox One, that really made a difference. But now, like, if you in the middle of the generation where people have already made their, you know, their commitment to whatever platform that they're on, whether it be I don't know, whether it be Xbox or PlayStation, you've made that choice already. So you're not gonna switch just because something becomes more powerful. You're gonna be like, okay, I've got to, you know, I'm gonna stick with what I want. You're just basically gonna upgrade in the system that you are, you know, you're comfortable in. Hey, give me just a minute.
Ooh. It's really not that much Halo Storm. It's not.
Yeah, who told you it's 2 times? No way. It's.
Oh yeah. Did you guys hear the latest victim of Me Too?
Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman.
I know.
Which is
sad.
Yeah, because I mean here's the thing, like, do we really know? And all that same shit, like, did he really do it? Did he not? Why are they only coming forward now? And all of a sudden it's 8 women accusing him of inappropriate behavior, although I don't think any of it was any actual, like, rape or sexual assault. I think it was just, like, aggressive stuff.
I don't see Morgan Freeman doing that. I'm
I
sorry.
know, right?
I just don't.
You know, of all the he's never been one of those, like, creepy, weird.
Oh, you're talking about the Morgan Freeman crap?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah. I don't know if I buy it either.
I mean, dude wears a compression glove for arthritis when he's not being filmed.
Yeah, I don't see it happening myself, but.
And
Halo, oh my God, resolution isn't really all that greatly noticeable. Even PC gamers will tell you that they'd rather have a game at 1080p that ran better frames than a game at 4K, because just in going from 1080p to 4K, even if it's in native 4K and native 1080p, there's not a huge fucking difference with the graphical fidelity and stuff like that. It's not like a huge noticeable night and day difference.
It's really not. And even beyond that, most games run anti-aliasing that's bigger than, like, the average MSAA is like 4 or 8 times. So it's running larger than 4K textures when it anti-aliases. And when you compare, like, they did a comparison of a true 4K anti-alias normal to a 1080p when it's got like 2x anti-aliasing, which would bring it up to 4K, and there was not hardly any. I mean, like, you could measure individual pixels. That was the difference, and that was about it.
And Halo, no, it's not. I have an LG TV, 4K TV. Everything's great on it. It's not really that noticeable of a difference whenever you look at the checkerboard 4K compared to the native 4K. If you go to, I mean, hell, if you just take a look at Digital Foundry's video, just like back in the day, in the very beginning of the PS4 and Xbox One, whenever they were trying to show the difference between those games, like, you couldn't, just by watching the video, you couldn't tell the difference. But whenever they said, okay, well, here's the difference with that, like this, and they stopped the frame, it was a screenshot, and then they zoomed in on a piece of the wall and zoomed in 200 times, and they were able to go, okay, this wall looks more bricky than the other wall that doesn't look bricky. And then here's the floor at 300 times, and this one has more pebbles on it than this one does. it's the same thing now when they do their comparisons. They will play it side by side. You can't really notice it, and then all of a sudden when they pause it and they zoom in, yeah, it's noticeable then because you can zoom in on the textures and see what the difference in the textures. It's more, it has more visual fidelity to it whenever you're looking at that. But in the gameplay, while you're playing, running through the forest or the wooded area in Tomb Raider, or you're shooting aliens in Titanfall, you're not going to notice a big difference because you're in movement. I mean, it's just the same as any normal thing. I don't know. I mean, I would have rather them, like, the mid-gen refresh has been 1080p and then ultra settings than trying to hit 4K. I mean, not for the 60 frames per second, but 1080p to, like, medium to high is what we were getting. The 1080p ultra is a better thing than going from 1080p medium high to 4K medium high. I mean, resolution is just not, you can't notice resolution unless it's a blurry resolution to a clearer resolution. And sorry, but 1080p or 1800p to 2160p isn't blurry by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, there's a reason that max resolution, even on PC, did not scale the same way that other graphical improvements did. I mean, shit, we were stuck with 1024 by 768 for, Jesus, decades. Because the jump from that to 480p or to 720p, it just wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't that important. There were other graphical
No.
improvements that you could make that made the game look much better. What's up, Cyrus?
Halo, that's where you're. I guess you can feel that way if you want, but I had the X, but I had those two games on the X, and I had those two games on the Pro. Played them both, videotaped them both, and I couldn't tell the difference. But if you look at the video of Digital Foundry where they pause the game, zoom in, it's clear, like night and day, that you can tell the difference. But like I said, and when you're playing as your character is running through the field or running through the area, you're not gonna notice how many fucking pebbles are on the fucking ground. Nobody sits there and stares at a fucking wall in a game, or stares at a fucking what's it called? The ground. And
well, if you're Kotaku, you might stare at a health pack for a long time.
Huh?
If you're Kotaku, you might stare at a health pack for a long time.
Oh, you mean Polygon?
Polygon, excuse me. Yeah. Well, doesn't really matter. Any of them could have done it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, side by side playing the game, you're not gonna notice the difference. Which one do I got more chicks on?
Yeah, huh? that's the. Which one got you more chicks? That's the real.
Neither. Oh, neither one. Like, I'm married. I don't give a shit about chicks.
If you were at a bar hitting on a woman, would you mention your PS4 Pro or your Xbox One S?
Oh, definitely the PS4, man.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
PS4 Pro gets you chicks. Confirmed.
Yeah, so if I mentioned my Xbox, they'd be like, gay!
I'm not sure I'd mention either one.
Well, yeah, I probably wouldn't if you're trying to pick up a woman. But,
yeah, no, I mentioned
baby,
my motorcycle.
Like, you want to come back to my place and play some Fortnite?
Depending on her age, that could work.
Yeah,
that's like, true.
Well, like, what system you playing on? The PS4 Pro. All right, well,
that's right, baby.
Yeah.
Hacknet is free for the next 48 hours on the Humble Bundle store.
Okay, what is? I don't know.
Hacknet.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
It's like I mean, as the name says, it's like it's a hacking game where, like, it you boot it up and it looks like the screen looks like a terminal, and you got to do whatever you got to do to hack and stuff, and you hack into different computers, and then they give you like
so it's Watch Dogs 3.
Yeah, but it's just like it's more of like an indie.
So it's just the hacking.
Yeah, pretty much.
It'd be cool if it actually taught you how to hack.
Which, yeah, I don't.
Imagine that Steam. I don't imagine Steam probably wouldn't allow that on there.
No, there's
Learn
some
how to
kind of
really hack.
simulator that does that. It gives you a roundabout idea anyway, and doesn't teach you like specifics.
People are still fucking pissed off about the Steam thing, even though it turned out that that's not happening. Because they're still tweeting about fucking Witcher having, boobs in it or full on sex scene, and I'm like going, dude, it's already been cleared up. Time to move on.
Yeah, but they still haven't gotten an explanation of it though, and that's
Well,
the
yeah,
part I'm
bitch
interested
about
in.
bitch about that, but don't bitch about the differences in the games and what's being left on and what's being left off, considering nothing's being left off at this point. I don't know. I just think it's kind of weird, and the whole. Oh, I forgot. Oh God, there was somebody on Twitter that was talking about. Oh, the guy today, like somebody, I guess. He was called a good Samaritan by the people or whatever, but he stopped a purse thief and then choked him to death.
Oof.
And I was like, well, good. I like this guy's tax plan. He saved, the taxpayers a lot of money. And somebody's like, well, it figures that a gamer would think that's okay. And I'm like going, the fuck does, what ad hominem thinks that, great ad hominem attack, but what the hell does gamer have to do with the way I feel about thieves?
Well, come on, Rambo. You're playing all those murder simulators. Of course you're going to be happy when somebody dies.
Yeah, I'm like going, what the fuck? You looked at my profile and thought, oh, it's a gamer. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, no, I fucking hate thieves.
Ah, fuck.
And I could give a shit less if somebody killed a fucking thief.
Yeah, it's not like the guy ran away and he shot him 10 times in the back or something.
Okay, dear God, Halo. It's really almost like y'all fanboys just don't y'all listen to part of a conversation, but you don't hear the whole thing, or you just don't want to. I said in the beginning, I'm not saying that I'm going to be caring about power because I don't care about power, but the reason why power is brought up in the very beginning of the generation is because there's not really a whole lot of games to talk about. So they start comparing each console power-wise and then price-wise and to see which one's a better value. And then, of course, the fanboys will run with that and, well, my console is more powerful than yours. And, it fucking matters. My reply would always be like, well, yeah, but my console still plays the exact same games. I really don't give a shit if it's an extra, so many pixels. But yeah, you're gonna hear people in 2021 or 2020 or 2019, whenever the fucking thing launches, about power. That's just what's gonna happen. They're gonna compare the two and figure out which one's the better value. And then after more games start coming out, then it's going to be all about which one has the better games.
It's a vicious circle.
Yeah, it's been happening like this for a fuck ton of years now. It's always done this. I don't understand how everybody's seeing. Well, again, oh dear God. How are you already prepared? How am I already preparing to tout the PS5's power? I just said I don't give a shit about the power. I didn't even know that the PS4 was more powerful than the Xbox One. I wasn't on the crusade about my console is more powerful than yours. I did say that the PS4 is a better value based on the analysis that they shown. But again, I didn't notice a difference between the 900p and the 1080p. It didn't bother me. I still played on the Xbox back then with the 720p games. I didn't give a shit. Yeah, the Dave & Buster's exclusive better be the most powerful arcade machine in the world.
Ugh.
That still kind of has to hurt as an Xbox, if you're an Xbox gamer, that Dave & Buster's is getting a new Halo before the Xbox One is.
The worst part is I don't have a Dave and Buster's around here. So,
We got one.
We have two, I think. Well, they're not like close to me. There's one's on the north side, one's on the far south side. I'm kind of in the middle.
That fucker was packed when it first opened.
Yeah, it was.
It was like 3 hours for getting a table.
Yeah, now it's kind of just, but here it's just kind of leveled off to where you can, it's almost like a Buffalo Wild Wings type deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's busy and then sometimes it's really easy.
Their selection of games near me, too, is not all that great.
I never really paid attention to the games. I mean, again, like whenever I'm out and about, unless I see like a Pac-Man machine or a Galaga, I don't ever really think about playing games because I like those type of old arcade games. I love the new ones. I just don't.
You would love the bar that's downtown.
Do they have the Pac-Mans and shit?
Oh, they got all the old stuff.
Yeah, see, I'd be there spending like quarter after quarter after quarter, just yeah.
Yeah, I mean they got new stuff. Like they've got like I think they had Tekken Tag, and a few like Time Crisis 2 or 3 or something like that. But their real big concentration is on the old the classics. They had original Mortal Kombat, I think. They had a couple of the original Street Fighters. I know they had either Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man. I'm pretty sure they had Galaga. I think they had like Asteroids or whatever that one. Yeah, they had a bunch. It was pretty cool. It was nice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had like some of the old Neo Geo machines with the old
like King of Fighters and stuff?
Yeah, Metal Slug, King of Fighters, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was real cool. Kind of hipstery because they had a whole bunch of douches there, but if you like the nostalgia and the food wasn't bad.
I'd probably just go there for the fucking arcades.
Right.
And Halo, no, if it was PlayStation, I'd feel the same way. If they were going through a game drought and they decided to put Uncharted as a fucking arcade machine before they put one on the damn my PlayStation, I'd be pissed. Like, look, we need games. We don't need fucking games at a fucking Dave and Buster's. Let's get let's get your your main priority taken care of first. Well, I just finished. I platinumed Nier Automata today.
Oh shit!
Nice.
But I don't think you don't have to go through all the endings though.
You don't have to go through all 26 endings.
Okay,
no.
I was gonna say because I don't think you would have gone through all of them by now.
Well, no, the thing is like the 26 endings aren't really. You have to play through 26 times.
No, but you do have to play through quite a few though, don't you?
No, 4 really.
Really?
Yeah, all you have to do basically like most of the endings are like whenever you're supposed to go to this location, instead of heading to that location, go somewhere else, and the ending will pop.
And then you just reload your save, and then
it'll take you right back to where you were, and then so I mean so when it comes to that, I just I did a lot of them. I did like probably 13 of the 26, but I did one of them without even knowing what the fuck I was doing. Like it said to go to a certain location, and I was headed there. But apparently, since I didn't head the direction that the game thought I should head, it gave me the ending. I was like, okay, well. And then I started looking up all the different endings. And whenever I remembered, one of them that I could get, I decided to try for them. But most of the time, I couldn't remember all the different things you had to do to get through them.
So it's not like...
They're not really special endings either. Basically, all it does is pop up at the bottom, like it's something at the bottom of the screen. It'll like a few words typed out, and you have to kind of scroll through them, and then the credits will just roll real fast, and then you're right back in the game. So it's not really like a true ending. There's only like actual 4 true endings.
Right.
And I did all 4 of those endings.
Are those the 4 you have to get for the platinum?
Yeah, and we have to get all 26 for the platinum, but you can buy the trophies at the end of your 4 playthroughs, like the ones you're missing. Buy them with in-game
credits or whatever.
Yeah. And I did that because I was like, I'm not going back through chapter select just so that way I can see a quick scroll through of credits. And I played the game for 68 hours. So I was in the game for. It's not like I rushed through it and bought trophies. I played the hell out of the game, but it was a fun game. It was a lot better than what I thought it was gonna be whenever I first started playing it when I first bought it. And when I first bought it, I played it a little bit, and I was like, man, this is kind of weird. And a
Yeah,
new
the
game
first
came out
section is way different than the regular game.
yeah. And so after that, I was like, all right, well, I mean, so after I finished, I think God of War and then Tacoma, and then I was trying to find something to lead up into Detroit Become Human today. And I thought, well, shit, I'll play Nier Automata and see if I can get back into it. And I started playing it through and toughing it out from the first part, and it got really, really good. And the different storylines that are in there, the 4 different storylines are pretty interesting and weird. I mean, like some weird shit happens in some of like the 9S storyline, fucking some weird shit. And then like I platinumed it today, which Detroit Become Human comes out today. They came out today, so I'm prepared now to where I'm not in the middle of a game. I can jump straight into Detroit Become Human and go for that platinum. And I can't wait for that game. That's been a very anticipated game.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to kill the little kid.
So
Shane, you there? Shane left.
Oh shit, he just dropped. Where'd you go, Shane?
It's that gay Xbox syndrome. What else is going on? Not really a whole lot going on, really.
Well, Motherboard put out this article.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Motherboard.
PewDiePie is teaching his audience that women are asking for it.
Huh?
Yeah. So, PewDiePie, did you hear about where he called, what's her name?
The streamer?
Yeah. The fuck is that chick's name? Alinity Divine.
Yeah.
Where he called her a cam hoe or
cam whore?
Stupid Twitch thought.
Yeah, Twitch thought, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Which she is.
Right? Oh, I just got a message.
His net died. He's resetting the modem.
Fucking Shane.
Well, they have some out there. Him and Brim have like some terrible internet, like reliability wise.
I know, right?
Like I couldn't deal with that. I'd be.
Oh yeah, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, I'd be like losing my shit.
Once a month, Comcast drops in the middle of the night sometimes, and I get pissed at that.
Yeah. Oh, there was a video I shared on fucking Twitter, and it was real, man. This guy lost his internet. His power went out. And I guess this was like the second time that day that it happened, but this time it was a lot longer. And this motherfucker was crying.
Jesus.
He was like, yeah, I know y'all think I'm stupid, but y'all just don't understand how more important the internet is for me, and I just gotta have it. And then then he's like, oh shit, I have the internet on my phone, I can use that. And he picks up his phone, and the phone was dead. And then so he started using his DSLR and was like fucking just bawling because the internet was out and he wasn't able to get on to see Twitter and shit like that. I'm like going, dear God, dude, you need to get outside some more.
Yeah, you need to take a week-long camping trip or something and leave all that shit behind.
Cause shit, man, I get the internet's important. I hate when it goes down, but fuck, I can find something to do.
Right?
Yeah, it's just wow, like that dude was like. He makes me think of these fucking millennials that are the social justice warriors online. Like, yeah, I bet he was one. He's like, I can't argue with somebody. I can't call them a racist.
It's that meme of the kid that's like holding in his shit or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the Batman of the internet.
When you haven't called somebody a racist for 30 minutes. So, Earlier this month, Schellberg, who has more than 63 million subscribers, uploaded a video of himself testing the Tobii Eye Tracker, which is able to show in real time what a user is looking at on the screen. He invited fans on Twitter to send him videos to view, and recorded the results. One of the videos he watched, Sexiest Twitch Girl Streamers April 2017 number 2, was a compilation that featured Alinity. While Schellberg struggled to keep his eyes off her chest, he jokingly called women in the video stupid Twitch thoughts, a derogatory term for women that stands for that hoe over there. Alinity saw the video and retaliated by filing a copyright claim with YouTube.
But she didn't.
In his latest video on the subject, uploaded Wednesday, Schellberg chastised Alinity for filing the claim and suggested that Alinity somehow deserves the abuse she is getting online for wearing revealing clothes, which that's not what he fucking said. He shows examples.
Didn't he say she deserved the abuse that she was getting for doing the false strike?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
He shows examples of times when she wore a sheer top and her bra straps exposed, or when she played Just Dance in a dress.
I don't understand why they're not going, why do they think that women doing that is okay?
Well, and that's the thing.
I mean, I understand that it's okay for a woman to show her body and make money. I'm not talking about that. But if you're on a gaming streaming website and you're not playing games and all you're doing is basically trying to get money based off your body, you need to move over to Pornhub and not, or one of the cam girl sites and not the gaming website. Because it's really those girls take away a lot of views for gamers that are trying to actually use the site for what it's for.
Yeah, look at this. YouTubers like Schellberg criticize women for what they wear and how they act on stream. If they are popular, it's only because of their bodies, and if people objectify them for that, that's their fault. Wait, wow. So if a chick wears revealing clothing in a Twitch stream, it's not their fault that people objectify them? No,
it's our fault because
right?
That's not what they're trying to do, damn it.
Trism, what's up, bruh?
Another fucking PC elitist.
Get the fuck in here, dude. Ugh.
And Cyrus, I would suggest that, playing the AC. If you have a bunch of AC games you've never played, play them all together. If you can stomach it, because after platinuming one of them, it was such a long and tedious thing that I couldn't go right into a second one. But if you're just playing the storyline in them, you should be able to play at least 2 or 3 before you get too burnt out on the mechanics. But those are always really good. Like the older ones, I thought were really good with the storylines and how they kept up with it. I would suggest doing it, but only if you're playing on the PS4, not the Xbox. Don't do that. You don't want to be gay like Shane and go get.
Oh my God, this is great. A common rallying cry for men mad at women for streaming is that they get subscribers just because they're women. A 2016 study of 1 billion comments sent on Twitch showed that in female streamers' channels, the most frequently used words were things like boobs, hot, oh my God, smile, and babe. For men, it's more like melee, shields, glitch, and reset. So, you're tacitly admitting that the things that most people are paying attention to in these chick streams are things like boobs, and then saying that it's not because they're girls and they dress scantily? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. If you actually look at a lot of these Twitch thoughts, emojis and shit, it's all related to their fucking body.
So Twitch thoughts. I think I know where this started.
The PewDiePie shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Motherboard had to make a whole article on it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Who are they siding with?
Oh, the girl, of course.
Oh,
Of course, yeah. Well, they're never. Nobody, no liberal
How?
magazine is ever going to side with PewDiePie.
No. It's not about that. It's just about the idea that literally,
Yeah,
like,
but-
what is there to complain about? Someone literally admitting that they're purposely falsely copywriting people in order to take money. Like, how? What is there to side with? What could they possibly have to like report on?
Oh,
'cause
well,
he was called a Twitch slut, so
yeah,
that's wrong. You're
PewDiePie called her a
objectifying
Twitch
her.
thought and made it.
If you objectify her, then that's your fault, not hers.
So,
Yeah,
Wait. Since when? Like, I can understand maybe if he called them like slut or something that's sort of more, but a thought. I thought that was more like a teenage slang thing.
It's called
Well,
that
it
hoe
is,
over there.
but yeah, it's that hoe over there.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I can understand their point. Like if you were at, say, like like the beach, and like women, all the women there are bikinis or bathing suits. Well, yeah, I mean, I would say if you're objectifying women there, then it's you, not really them, because they're just dressed for the occasion.
Yeah.
But when you go to these Twitch slots streams, they're clearly making you want to they're clearly advertising what they have and
Yep.
what they're there
Yeah.
for. It's not like they're dressed up in normal clothes and playing a game and people just happen to be commenting on boobs. They're like valiantly putting their boobs like the main part of the screen, and the game in the little bitty tiny fucking corner over on the side where you can barely even see
Yeah,
it.
the opposite of what every other Twitch streamer does.
It's like you remember back when the whole Merriweather versus what's his face fight was going on. I forgot his name.
McGregor, yeah.
How dare you
No, I
forget
think this is
the
Pacquiao.
best fighter in the
Pacquiao
world?
and Merriweather. Either way, there was a big UFC fight. I think it was UFC or some MMA thing. But there were some people who were streaming the fight for free, like on different. It wasn't Twitch, but on different streaming sites.
Yeah,
And
there was
what they would
one
do- Yeah, I think,
go ahead, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, I think. where
playing
there's-
with his PS4 controller.
No, there was this one chick who literally just sat there and had like 90% of the screen hurt, and like in the very corner was just the actual fight.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before too. And then there was one guy that got away with it by he did the green screen thing where he could put himself in there, like in just where you just see him and the thing behind him.
Yeah.
And he had his PS4 controller in his hand, and said he was playing the UFC 3 beta. Like that was a thing, but it was actually fucking the fight.
That's actually
Dude's
kinda
living
funny.
in 2030.
He was actually able to get to stream the whole thing without it being copyrighted.
That's awesome.
Now, of course, once somebody found out, the UFC did copyright him or whatever, but he ended up like collecting a bunch of fucking subs and a bunch of
yeah.
money off of that fucking stream. So I mean, like he was like, all
Dude
right,
probably
cool,
became a legend.
Yeah.
Bro, that's genius.
Yeah, Ryan, I've learned not to click on if the title seems like it's very clickbaity. I won't even click on it because I've had enough to where I've clicked on an article and the article's like not even like it's like they're going out of their way to try to make that fucking title true.
Yeah.
Like they will.
Well, because
You can tell it's all conjecture and their opinions and shit like that rather than actual fact shit. Because if you go look at the facts, then it's like, how the hell did you get that out of that video?
Yeah. And it's weird. I mean, everywhere you go, there's something being clickbaited about something being misrepresented. Everything is starting to just be for some one-sided political argument. Everything is being politicized. Everything. And if you don't politicize something, you're berated. But if you have the wrong political opinion, you're berated. And it's getting so nauseating at this point.
Yeah, like you can't go anywhere politics being brought into it. Like you cannot fucking have a conversation about a haircut without somebody bringing in, oh, it's a Nazi haircut or what. I mean, it just seems like, dear God.
What was it?
When did we come to a point to where everything is fucking politicized?
There was a name of a burger at some local restaurant somewhere. I think it was California, I think.
I remember that story, yeah.
Yeah, they literally there was a big burger, like their biggest burger they had, and it was called Uncle Tom Burger. Someone threw a hissy fit about it and was able to get a news story written about it.
Yep.
And it's just like every little thing just has to be about a political opinion. Like, how childish you need to be in the way that you think, where you have to have everything agree with you. You have to bring everything like that. It's like you know how like teenagers and kids get really obsessed with something, they try to surround themselves with it at all
Like, I don't know,
Oh yeah,
Harry
Fortnite
Potter.
or
Wait,
Fortnite.
what? Yeah, people like it could be anything. It could be like I know when I was like 8 or 9, it was Transformers. Transformers, like it was always on my mind, and of course you grow out of it. And I think that's sort of the same thing we're seeing with some people nowadays.
Dude, I
It's
like
just
I like the theory that the millennial generation especially, they weren't allowed free play, and any time to them, not like just themselves, but like themselves even with friends outside of parental supervision. So they weren't allowed any time to play freely and do any kind of imaginative, like how kids will play house, or will play Transformers or whatever. And especially in schools, like there's no more recess, and then they get home and it's all scheduled activities and shit like that. And so now that they've grown up, they are trying to make up for that in the real world. And it really does seem like that.
I just think millennials growing up in this environment are just naturally entitled to an extent. Because even I've noticed, like, there'll be times I get home at like 2 in the afternoon, and I feel like, oh, I have no free time as I'm sitting on my ass in front of a computer screen watching YouTube videos. And I don't know. I think millennials and people my age are just naturally in that mindset to an extent. Not everyone, of course, but most, if not a lot. And I don't know why. I mean, there could be something about the environment we've all grown up in. We've had it fairly well relative to how people have had it in the past. I mean, especially with technology, we have it really, really well.
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I've heard a lot of good theories. That one that I mentioned, I think that's got pretty strong evidence. There's also like helicopter parenting. The fact that way too many kids are growing up without fathers. The indoctrination levels in schools is just getting out of hand. We've really fucked up kids. I'm quite glad that I avoided the worst of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and and also, okay, here's another thing. I don't know if this contributes at all, but I'm sure there's something. So one of my cousins has a 6-year-old daughter, and all the time, every time I actually come over to see them, or I just see them at all, they always have their daughter watching some YouTube video on their phone all the time. And these are like the kids safe YouTube thing that YouTube has, or whatever. It's
Yeah, they're
stuff
called
like that.
digital babysitters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all the time. We were at an award ceremony for for one of my cousins, different cousin. I have a bunch of cousins. Anyway, point is, we were at a sports awards ceremony that they were giving out stuff for the summer, and all she was doing was watching YouTube videos on the phone the whole time. And her parents didn't really care. They were turned around talking to someone else, not even paying attention. And that phone kept getting louder and louder. She kept turning up the volume, paying more attention, bothering everybody else. Parents didn't give a shit. And I don't know if that's something that's a current trend.
Oh, it is.
People.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even worse is because it's one thing when the kids are doing it, but then it's also become a trend where parents will spend, like they'll go to the park or something, they'll take their kids to the park, and they'll spend the whole time on their phone not paying attention to their kids.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen that. I didn't think people actually went to parks anymore.
Yeah,
But you know,
right.
I mean, it's a sad thing to say, but I didn't actually think people did that anymore.
But yeah,
It was-
it's become a notice. I've read a few articles about it where parents will spend more time interacting with their phones on like social media or YouTube or whatever it is, as opposed to actually paying attention to their kids. And
I
yeah,
think
it's no bueno.
I think Garuda has a good point there. I also blame the internet and how I don't think it's the internet's inherent fault. It's just that we've gotten really lazy. We've gotten so dependent on the internet to where we don't even realize. And I do think that in an extent, using the internet is a lot like using a drug to an extent. We have grown very addicted to it. Maybe not everybody, but a
It's not
lot
so
of
much
people.
the internet per se, but a lot of the things on like social media. They've already
Oh,
done
yeah, true.
studies to where yeah, social media is horrendously addicting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I agree with it.
it's no
Uh,
bueno.
when I get home, I watch YouTube. It becomes sort of a schedule. I'll come home sometimes, do a couple things, look at some stuff going on in local news, and then I'll hop immediately on YouTube and start playing a game. It's become a thing. I'll do that for a couple hours and go to something else. You know, it's become a thing where I don't even realize it. It's like, yeah, I could be doing something else better, but I want to do this, and I can understand how it's a lot worse for a lot of other people. They never got attention from their parents. Just cell phones. Yeah, and the thing is too, I'm one of the few people that I know of at my school that actually doesn't really use their cell phones, really ever. I think I use my cell phone as a guitar tuner more than I've actually used it to call or text people or even use it like for social media. I have Discord on it just because if I'm like without internet and I feel like getting on Discord, but that's literally all I have on it.
Oh, it's a good thing Facebook sucks ass on the phone.
That's implying it doesn't anywhere else.
Well, at least on the website you can.
Facebook is the best social media app. Thank you.
They are very transparent with what they do with
Yeah,
their information.
They definitely care about my privacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Dave Cullen said it best. If a service is free, then you are the product.
Yeah, pretty much. Did you hear about the Alexa thing?
Oh yeah.
What happened? Well, I'm not.
Hey,
I won't be
It
surprised.
recorded a couple's conversation without permission, and then sent it to one of their friends in their contacts.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Yeah, and Amazon came out and said that doesn't really regularly happen. It was a kind of like a one-off thing, and I'm like going, yeah, we're supposed to believe you.
Right.
It's like, wasn't there a case where one of the Alexas actually recorded someone being murdered or something and sent it to the police? Like, police were actually using Alexas to track down on crimes happening inside homes.
I don't doubt it.
I don't know.
I don't know. I vaguely.
I mean, there's
remember
been all sorts of weird, like,
People are stupid for having those things in their houses.
right?
Absolutely. I've heard horror stories from a couple of people, like personally, and they've said that there's been many times where they'll be talking about something out of context. Like they'll say, "Oh, I need to get new kitchen appliances," and then the Alexa thing, will actually call them out by name and say, "Searching for brand name." Like they could be talking about getting new plates and dishes, and it'll legit say their name out loud, and then say, "Do you wish to order?" Some brand of dishes or plates and stuff, and it could literally be anything they've talked about. It's done it numerous times, and I can only imagine, things like that. It may seem tame at first, but it makes you wonder what else it could possibly be doing.
Telling ya. Fucking
It's
Terminator,
definitely
man.
spying on you, man. It's definitely spying on you.
And there's reports of people where they don't even know that they're pregnant, but they'll start getting ads for baby products, and then they'll find out that they're pregnant. Like
How do they know?
the internet, dude, the internet is tracking everything, and it's learning us better than we know ourselves. So
Wow.
it, millions and millions of people who, once they become pregnant, they start It's not specifically like you learn you're pregnant and then you start searching for baby products, but you learn you're pregnant, you start searching for baby products, but you also start searching for other things. Like it tilts your interests a little more towards, other stuff, whatever that is. And then so the person who doesn't know they're pregnant, unknowingly, unconsciously, they'll start searching for the other stuff that pregnant people also search for, and then the internet figures out that, oh, this person's searching for all this other kinds of stuff, they're pregnant, so here's a bunch of baby stuff.
Well, hell, here's
Wow.
me and my wife were actually having a conversation just out on the porch, whatever, just talking or whatever, and it was about buying something or whatever. And when I later on that night when I logged into Facebook, that was the very first ad on my Facebook was what we were just talking about.
Wow.
And I don't even use Facebook to search for shit. Like it just popped up, and I was like, "What the hell? Like this thing is listening to me."
Or then there's like the algorithms they use at Netflix and stuff to give you the recommended feed. They don't even really know how those work. All that they know is that they do work. And you put all that together with the computers that were talking to each other in a language that humans couldn't understand, and this Alexa kind of shit. And yeah, it's Terminator's coming pretty soon. It's not going to be long now before a T3 fucking shows up in my front yard.
Yo, wait. You know how like Japan's
If that
working on
happens,
this?
I'm just gonna walk out there and get killed. Like,
Well, I mean, it's over. You can't fight with that.
yeah,
Hey man, who knows who's going to be the next John Connor? So
it sure
No,
as
it's
fuck ain't
gonna
gonna be me, man.
It's gonna be
And
like
it ain't gonna
some-
be. It's not gonna be any of these fucking millennials either.
I was
They're
gonna
fucking
say,
scared of
Oh,
their
well,
own side.
that's the whole point. I can't leave it up to those dumbasses.
I was gonna say, I
Shit.
can imagine like the next John Connor being like this blue-haired snowflake millennial,
We'd all be dead.
basically.
Like, die, human! Don't you dare assume my whatever it is.
Yeah, they'd go out there and be like, "I'm offended by you." Like,
I'm an other kid.
yeah.
No, but and it's one of those things too. Like you seem like, oh, I don't use Facebook or Twitter. Don't matter. Don't matter. It's way bigger than that. The whole idea.
Oh yeah, and I think that some of these some of these cities or whatever, actually have those cameras where they record speech as well,
And it's
and
yeah,
all that stuff is gathered into like different things where like Google and stuff pulls from that to where they kind of know what you're talking about when you're away from the house. Everything. I mean, it's just it's all too much right now.
There was something about recent like new Apple phones or new iPhones where they could literally track everywhere you go, like down to the addresses. Where some people have actually been able to go back and look exactly at the path they took in one day.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, they've
And
done
that
that for a while.
Yeah, and that was with the actual hardware. That's not a software, from what I know. That's more of a hardware thing.
Well, you heard about Chicago, right?
Oh, what are they doing?
They started monitoring everybody's social media, and they could predict with something like 90-something% accuracy who was going to be a likely perpetrator and who was going to be a likely victim. And so they would send people to the perpetrator's house and tell them, we're watching you. And then they would send people to the victim's house and said, look, you're probably going to be the victim of this crime.
Holy shit, it's Watch Dogs. Like, in real life.
Telling you,
It's
man.
Fucking Ubisoft was right. We laughed at them, but holy shit.
The dystopia is here.
Yeah, and Shadow, I think you're the one that said something about it being. Oh no, that was Ryan. A Connect in Disguise. That's one of the issues that they were having with Connect, is because there was an actual thing from the CIA where they wanted to use Connect to spy on people's houses. And now, basically, that since they couldn't get it through with Microsoft, I guarantee you, they're working with Amazon right now. Because what's scary is Amazon not only is listening to your fucking conversations, but they're also using that same technology and giving it to the fucking military for their use. So it's way too fucking much. Like it's that Big Brother thing is man, I'm not having shit like that in my fucking house.
It's like, you know, the idea of going to like some random ass forest in the middle of bumfuck nowhere and living off of that land sounds like a better idea every day.
Yeah, I don't know, like when it comes to this Big Brother thing, man, I like as much as the shit that I talk around the house, but like without being in the internet, I'd have fucking FBI agents like stuck outside my house forever, just waiting for me to act. Or they start doing the damn Minority Report, where they start fucking showing up at your damn doorstep, arresting you for crimes that you might commit.
Right? And the way people are going, dude, they'll welcome it with open arms.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the liberal, the little snowflake ones or whatever, would be willing to sacrifice their privacy in order to be, if the police were able to say, like, we're going to start arresting people for crimes, you know, monitoring people and arresting them before they commit the crime. They'd be like, oh, that sounds like a great idea.
I mean, they've been doing it with fucking almost everything lately. I mean, not just guns. You know, they've been, oh shit, what was the... Oh, there's been a whole bunch of laws that I've been seeing pop up trying to get passed where, by
the way, whenever you guys get some time, I posted a video in Shitpost by Dave Cullen. I really recommend giving it a watch.
I'm trying to think of the specifics, but I mean, they were all just generally, you know, well, the gun example is a pretty easy one. Like I'm seeing a whole bunch of
the red flag laws.
The what? Well, yeah,
not
just red flag laws, but even worse than that, they want to make it so that if a kid gets a gun and goes on a shooting spree, that like the person they got the gun from, so if he steals a gun, that person should be held accountable for that.
No.
And shit like that, and that it, you know, I've seen it expanded into other things as well, and it's like, man, you guys won't be happy until fucking everybody is responsible for everything.
They were all in prison.
That's communism, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. If a member of your family does something, you know, illegal, you should be held responsible for what they did.
Put them in the next 3 generations in concentration. Oh wait, hold on, that's North Korea. My bad.
It'll be us before long.
And they're arguing for it. They're saying these are good things. Like, fuck, man.
Like, it's like back in the I don't know what age it was, but it was a long ass time ago, where they would actually burn whole villages because one person acted out of line.
Yeah, there was some guy online that said, like where they were trying to explain that we don't want to take your guns, but here's a plan that we want to lay out, and like everybody has to carry insurance on their firearm. They have to register their firearm. They have to, if your firearm is used in a mass shooting or whatever, then the firearm maker can be held liable for murder. And I think the bottom one was every 6 months to a year, the police department or whatever gets to come into your house and verify where your firearms at and if they're locked up safely. And this is common sense gun law. I mean, fuck you.
It's like
the Fourth Amendment says no.
The fourth, no, that's that is the Fourth Amendment. I was getting confused with the Third Amendment. Third Amendment is if you do not have you have the right to decline. What is it? Sovereignty, or what was it called? Basically, if a soldier during war wants to come into your house, you have a right to decline them or something like that.
Yeah.
The government can't force you to house or feed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I can't
Second
remember the
is,
word they use, but yeah. I mean, really, there's the there's two kinds of gun laws that they're trying to pass. The first ones are just outright bans, assault weapons or
Oh yeah,
bump stocks or whatever.
yeah. Somebody
This,
told me the other day that I posted about that Louis Diner thing where the
mm-hmm.
gunman. He said, just imagine if there was if we actually got guns banned, there would be no need of that person in the parking lot shooting the guy. I'm like going, fuck you. There would be more of a necessary because we would never get rid of the gun.
That's why
People-
Australia's doing so well, right?
Yeah, I mean it's just a perfect example.
The hardest part to believe is, okay, here's the thing about guns. People have gotten to the point to where they're so scared of guns, they don't want to carry one, whether it's for the sake of they don't want to get in trouble or they don't want to look suspicious, or even just for the sake they just don't like guns. They're scary, horrible weapons, and we've just sort of infantilized weapons to be these instruments of torture, to where nobody wants to be able to use one. Basically, I think we're having a better job of scaring people out of using them than we are actually trying to ban them. Not saying people aren't giving an effort to ban them, but at this rate, I see it more as people just being taught to be scared of them rather than how to actually use them.
Yeah.
properly.
Well, it's cowardice. They don't want to have to take personal responsibility for their self-defense and the defense of their family. So they want to
It's-
outlaw anybody being able to do that, and they want to outsource that to the police.
But what's crazy is that these are the same fucking people that say that the police are out of control.
Right? Trump
Yeah, it
Trump
makes-
is literally the next Hitler, but
Yeah, and
give him all your
like,
guns.
and they want to entrust this all into the police and the government, but yet the police are the corrupt ones, like killing people randomly, and Trump is Hitler. And I'm like going, how does this even fucking work in your fucking brain?
Every time
You don't
someone-
trust the cops, you don't trust Trump's government, but yet you want to let the cops handle everybody's personal safety and trust the government to make sure that it all happens. Like it blows my fucking mind how ass backwards all their thinking is.
It's and it makes me wonder every time someone says, yeah, we should have stricter gun laws or we should have no guns. I always ask them, how are you going to enforce that? And they say, oh, we'll just have the police take it. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. We're going to have people with guns come and take our guns away. That makes a lot of sense. I don't see how that could ever backfire and turn into anything bad.
Right?
No.
Oh, and on top of what this guy said about most of the crimes in the black communities committed by most of the liberals, I found out a lot of shootings, for what I've heard, is done by most of the Democrats. Like there was what I can't remember his last name, Steven something.
Yeah, but I don't think they track just regular like the gang crime and stuff like that. I don't think they track their political affiliations.
No.
So I mean, I would imagine the majority of the crimes committed would be liberals because of the fact of who's using the majority of the killings, and most black people are for the liberals.
Well, that's the thing. When 90-ish% of a city votes Democrat, you can reasonably sure that that trend
it's only,
follows to the people who are killing.
It's only the 8% killing each other. Well, that 8% would die off real fucking quick.
I mean, and that goes into a whole other can of worms about the whole that goes into Black Lives Matter territory and stuff like that.
Apparently, they only matter if it's done by a cop and a white cop, because they don't really give a shit if a black cop kills a black kid. They only care if a white cop does.
Well, they'll say it was a white cop, even if it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
Right.
all of a sudden the shooter in fucking Florida is white. I'm like, no, he's fucking Mexican. No, he's white. No, he's not.
Wasn't George
No matter-
Zimmerman Mexican?
Yeah, and he's a white guy. Like,
He's
no,
white.
motherfucker, he's a Mexican.
And don't forget not only the chick from the YouTube shooting, but also that other, I think he was Serbian or Palestinian or whatever. I mean, he wasn't a white guy, but they lightened their skin tone, and the chick, they made her have green eyes. Like they actively altered the photos to make the person seem more white,
That's wow.
right? Straight up psyop shit.
That's straight up. That's. See, the way I saw it, I thought the left, and I don't put them past this, but I always saw them as just sort of lying, or not lying. What is it? Denial. That's the word. They're in which they're still doing, but they just straight up denied it and say, no, 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 they were white. But now they're actively going out and lying to people and mass producing it. That's hilarious.
Yep.
Yep, pretty
And
much.
of course, nothing on the news on either the shooting that Rambo's talking about, or then there were two others too within the last week, where an armed civilian stopped the shooting before anything really could happen. But of course, no mention on the news of those.
Hey, because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Nope.
There was a video I watched that was hilarious. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. It was, yeah, here it is. Won't someone please think of the Whammons? It was basically this article. Where is it? I'm trying to find the actual article to find the title. I have to scroll through his long ass description. Basically, I think it was saying something like, it was talking about why are black women less likely to be sexually harassed than white women, and why that's a problem.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If
No,
you're
it
going to
says-
sexually harass somebody, you need to do it equally, damn it.
Hashtag us too. Why haven't more black women been sexually harassed?
Dear God.
There was also I saw an article that was, where are all the Me Too stories from fat women?
It's in here you go. It's in shitpost. It starts out perfectly. No one wants to be sexually harassed in the workplace, but everyone would like to think that they're worthy of being sexually harassed in the workplace. What the fuck? I haven't actually read it. I just watched a video on it, but still.
I don't know if the majority of the left is on the far side, but the difference is that the vast majority of the right disassociate themselves from and vehemently oppose the far right. The problem on the left is that not only has all of the political class, the media, Hollywood, the tech sector and Silicon Valley, all of the important people have aligned themselves with the far left, but nobody from the majority of the middle left have done the same thing as the right have with disassociating themselves from and opposing. They all just go ahead with, when Hillary Clinton calls half of Trump supporters deplorables, or when, says they're all racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobe, xenophobe, whatever, they don't come out and say, hey, that's bullshit. You can't just talk about half the country like that. Or, when somebody screams about all men are rapists in waiting or some shit like that, they don't oppose that kind of stuff. And that's the big difference.
Wait, what was it that Go-Get was saying?
The majority of the left is of the far side.
I don't agree with that. I've spoken to some fairly left people, and they're sort of on the verge. They're somewhat leftist.
I think the ones on the left that aren't on the far side are just scared to speak up because they see that if you aren't that far left, that you get, you basically get
Crucified.
lumped with the right.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And that's the problem.
Nobody's willing to, like, none of the middle or centric left is really willing to speak up because of the fact of, the fear of what would happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem because, they basically had free reign for the last 50 years practically, and they've kept getting more and more out there and radical with what they're doing, and nobody, with very few exceptions, nobody calls them out on their bullshit.
Yeah. All right. Then again, now I will say this much: I don't, and I know it's going to sound somewhat hypocritical, but I don't entirely like the idea of putting people in the category of right or left, because from whenever I've had conversations with people, they'd share opinions that were very right leaning, but also they had some opinions that were very left leaning. And I'll have conversations with people, and sometimes I'll try to evaluate, okay, is this person on the left or right? But then they have very polarizing opinions at times. So it's a little odd. So I mean, I think that's actually the majority of people, in my opinion. The majority of people are just sort of like that. They have some left-wing opinions and some right-wing.
Yeah, they're more independent thinkers instead of.
Yeah.
Because I won't identify with one side or the other.
Well, I'll admit I'm more right-leaning.
That's the thing. They're descriptors, just like anything else.
I know.
So,
like the majority of people, from what I know at least, they're very much for the idea of having guns, but they believe in things like universal health care and things like that, which is that's a very right-wing opinion versus a very left-wing opinion. And it's things like that that sort of stockpile on each side that sort of makes it a little harder to say what description really fits them. And I think that's actually the majority of people, whether it's, they share certain opinions or not.
Hey guys, I'm going to put myself on mute right now because I got to go in and make sure that if the baby wakes up, because my wife has to go pick up my son from work.
Yep.
All right. Consider myself looking right. They're both.
I mean, it depends on how you look at it, Ryan, because
the problem with descriptions is that one description that may not completely fit someone, so they go out and make an entirely new description that fits the very, very specific line of what they think. It used to be sort of, I think it started out as just Democrat, Republican. Then you got things like conservative, liberal, and classical liberal, then libertarian. It's like, yeah, and I still don't know the difference between libertarian and conservative.
I mean, libertarians more small government.
I thought that's what conservatives were.
Libertarians are small government usually in everything, whereas conservatives are usually small government to a point where usually stuff like military or police or stuff like that, they don't mind somewhat of a large government. More like where you would, say almost like a constitutionalist, where it's anything that the Constitution has enumerated the powers, like with the military or with foreign relations or stuff like that. They, not like they want a big government, but they're okay with a larger government in those areas, whereas a libertarian would say, I want the absolute smallest government presence possible in everything ever.
And the problem is, see, I used to be somewhat libertarian. I still kind of am. I used to be full on ANCAP at one point. But nowadays, I sort of see it like this: no matter which side you go with, no matter if you have small government or big government, it's going to collapse in some way. And that's just that's just how I see it. You're going to have, if you start out with the government, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing over generations, and then just collapse. It's happened many times in history. But and I'd like to believe that if you have too much, free market and capitalism, I also feel like that would also collapse. As companies would sort of, I don't like to use the word take over, but people would become too reliant on companies and their products and services. Sort of like how we're seeing now, people are becoming too reliant on big conglomerates with technology.
Well, yeah, pure capitalism would just lead to an oligarchy.
Yeah. And so,
I mean, that's the thing. I'm with ANCAPs. I really am. Like, an ANCAP run society would be about as close as you could get to an actual utopia. It's not a utopia because it's not an actual utopia, but it would be
Yeah.
the closest thing you could get to one, but it can't work as long as there are governments that exist elsewhere.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
there's just, as long as China and North Korea and Russia and places like this exist, there's no point in even talking about it because they'll just walk in and take over.
Exactly. See, that's why I've sort of evolved my beliefs from being, no government at all to, okay, maybe we should have some government and like military and
I mean,
somewhat
what
defense.
pisses me off about most of the ANCAPs that I see on like Facebook and shit is that they are just as utopian as any commie because they attribute everything bad to the state, just like some people will attribute everything bad to to religion or to what it's the same exact thing. You are projecting all of the problems of human nature onto one thing and saying, oh, if we only got rid of this one thing, or if we only, or in the case of communists, if only we got the state perfect, then everything would be okay. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
I feel like, isn't there like a thing called the fine-tuning fallacy where it's like you always, like, no matter what, no matter how wrong you are, and you always try to say, all right, well, what if we fix this very specific thing? You're always fine-tuning something but never getting it right. Sort of like ANCAPs and leftists. They're always saying, well, the only reason that my idea failed was because the state wasn't like this very specific way that I see it. Or even ANCAP said, well, if we got rid of this very specific thing in this narrow field, maybe then things would be better. And then they keep saying the same thing. If we got rid of this and got rid of that, and they're very small and specific things. Isn't there like something against that? Am I on the right track, or am I just rambling because I'm tired?
No, I mean, yeah, it's definitely some of
just-
that.
'cause that's just
Shadowkin,
how-
it's it's because here's the thing, right? Yes and no, because yes, the automation of something can lead to a loss of jobs, but it can also lead to an increase in jobs. Like you can use you could use farming or automotive production or anything like that as an example. As something becomes automated, the jobs that are involved that get automated are lost to the automation, but then there's also lots more jobs created. Like I forget the example that was used when somebody was talking about this, where something like 90% of the jobs, I think it was in something like auto manufacturing, but I'm not 100% sure, but it was like 90% of the jobs, assembling parts for a car, say, were lost, but then there were 10 times as many jobs created because that one particular part of the process was automated. So I mean, the big one that could be a problem is automated driving, because it's not clear, besides maintenance of the vehicles, it's not clear what replacing those jobs with technology would create in the as a replacement. But it's not rare, because it's happened in every industry that it's happened to.
Computer development. It's happened with automotive industry. I mean, even in the software industry, from what I've heard, you have writing code to a degree. Like with Windows, I think they sort of have certain, like, everything's sort of predetermined. You don't have a bunch of people sitting down writing code 24/7. I think they just have a lot of stuff already made, and then they just sort of roll with it and add little things here and there. Point
Yeah.
is, though, huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, point is, though, I think this is something also go get pointed out was things don't work nowadays. Well, the thing is, the way I see it at least, is with everything becoming really, really automated and people having a perfect way of making things, it sort of takes away from the reliability of certain products, especially nowadays, and it sort of takes away from what a lot of things sort of used to be. There's a reason why.
I think that's just more from like planned obsolescence.
True. Yeah, you're probably not wrong about
And
that.
yeah,
Which,
I don't think that's so much I don't think that's due to the actual automation. I think that's more because, you know, you look at cars, like the most reliable cars are like late 80s, early 90s, and that was well into where automation had taken over most of the process. But then as the industry matured, it became more economically viable for the companies to make cars that didn't quite last so long. And then, you know, yes, Shadowkin, in that one warehouse, they won't hire the same amount of people to work on the machines. But then they're going to need 10 times as many drivers to ship all the extra product that they're making. And they're going to need a lot more salespeople to sell all the product that they're making. And they're going to need more, you know, it's not a one-for-one job exchange for the same jobs, but there's a whole bunch of extra jobs that are created that go along with, you know, what you know, if you're making 10 times the product and you're able to sell it, well then a whole bunch of stores are going to need to open, and all those stores are going to need people to stock the shelves and man the cash registers, and you know, and then you're going to need drivers to drive all that product around, and then, you know, it's a whole bunch of extra stuff. It's in different areas that the extra jobs are created.
you know, whenever you put it like that, whenever you make it seem like that, it really puts into question the whole direction that people or that humanity would go in if it went that direction. Could you imagine how, like, because I'm trying to think, let's say in Ancapistan that were to happen, where, you know, you had pure capitalism and things got so advanced to where most of the worries were gone, and the only worries that people had were just, you know, the fake non-worries that people think they have, you know, sort of like how it is today. It just makes you wonder, what direction would people head to? What purpose would people serve later on? You know, how advanced can we get as, you know, as a society in that way? Because that's what would happen. Capitalism is going to make things more advanced. It's going to improve, but it makes you wonder, at what point will we sort of reach that tipping point? Will it be like, will we get to a point of overpopulation and sort of go away from that before we reach that point? Or
No, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about overpopulation,
Okay.
because all the data shows that once a society becomes more technologically advanced and stuff like that, the birth rate drops. So the best projections I've seen is the world population will stabilize somewhere around 9 billion and then probably start to decline after that. And we're certainly capable of producing enough food, and there's certainly enough room. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that. Like right now, the only place that's really having a problem with overpopulation is Africa.
Really?
Yeah. Like
I thought it would be China.
No, because their population drastically started to decline.
Wow.
Even after they rescinded the one child law, it's not like the population like shot up or anything. And that's the thing. Their their population was only a problem because they couldn't create enough food or resources for their people. But as they've started to industrialize that's become less and less of a problem. And now, they've got a lot of manufacturing jobs. And so the people there have enough money so that they can import stuff they need. And so, yeah, it's nowhere near as much of a problem as it was.
Huh. I would have never guessed that. I thought China was still dealing with that.
And Shadowkin, there's there's a lot of things that can't be replaced by automation. Like like you can replace a McDonald's worker at the counter with a kiosk, but like for an actual sit-down restaurant, it's going to be a long, long time before there's a robot that actually takes your order and brings it out to you.
Actually, okay, you remember that whole Amazon, what is it, cashierless store?
Yeah.
They opened it up in Seattle.
Right.
I mean, we're not too far from something like that. I could totally see in the next, somewhat 10 so years, having, a employee-less restaurant where they actually like have food made for you and brought it out, like with all just machines. I could actually see that in the next 15 so years. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know.
Because if you think about it, like waiting tables is actually a very complicated task. You've got to take the order, you got to bring it back, you've got to navigate yourself around the entire restaurant, you've got to anticipate when people are going to be ready for their order, you got to anticipate when they're going to need refills on their drinks. You've got to, there's a whole bunch of little things like that humans are really good at, but we have not even come close to creating artificial intelligence that's sophisticated enough to be able to do that kind of stuff.
I think what would most likely happen is they would probably have it to where you sit down at a table and they had like a little machine there where you can actually punch in an order, and then have it delivered to you. Like all the tables, they'll have little computers at the tables. And the computers can obviously be ID'd with the table so that it will know what order is put into what table. And as far as drinks go, same thing there. And if you ever need
right, but how does the thing bring it out to you?
I'm sure there could be a way for something to be
brought sure,
out to
in the future. But just think about the the robots we have now that are capable of navigating a room, like a Roomba. Like that's not even close to capable of doing that kind of work. It can barely map out a room and then, just run around it and vacuum up the room. And even then, it'd be impossible for something like that to work in a situation where somebody could trip over it as they were walking or something like that. It can't avoid. It can't see and then avoid somebody walking around or something like that.
What if maybe it wasn't walking, but more of like everything is done sort of
like tracks on the ceiling or something?
Something like that, but it's sort of in the secluded area. Like you have the kitchen in the back, and then you have the walkway that sort of separates the table to where people couldn't easily walk back there. And you have something maybe. You have these, I wouldn't say, it's not robots, but maybe machines that came out and brought it out. Not like you were saying, maybe a track or conveyor belt, maybe not something like that, because that seems fairly primitive. But something where robots can easily walk somewhat in a straight line or have something brought there. It's just a quick shot, one way and then back, going through another path that leads back to the kitchen and go get something else. And this area would be blocked off so people wouldn't easily walk in the way of it and things like that. But then again, that wouldn't completely rule out the idea of employee-less, because what if an issue goes on with one of the robots? There would have to be someone on call to be there, like a technician or something.
And what was it? Like, Ryan, maybe your order comes up and you walk up to get it. Yeah, but that's exactly what fast food restaurants have had that style for forever, and yet regular sit-down restaurants still exist. So obviously people will still pay for the diner experience. So until they are not willing to do that anymore, it'll still exist.
I think the idea is that they can be automated, but people just choose for them to not be.
Well, and the other thing is cost. Until robots become cheaper than an actual, like there was a great thing where there was this thing this like machine type thing in some, I don't know where it was, a restaurant or a store or something, where you could turn this crank and every few seconds a penny would pop out. And if you kept turning the crank, you would basically earn $10 or, minimum wage, whatever minimum wage was. And so somebody then worked out the math and said you could buy an electric motor for, X amount of dollars, and maintenance for that motor cost X amount of dollars. And so if you raised minimum wage to say $15, the operating cost for that motor would be something like $12.50 an hour or something. Whereas for the human to turn it, it would be $10 an hour. Well, if you raised minimum wage to $15 an hour, then all of a sudden it would be cheaper to pay for that motor to be turning the crank. And obviously this is just, a really simplified example, but that's the whole thing, is that as long as it's cheaper to pay a person to do the labor, whatever it is, then the job will always exist, because it won't be worth paying for the machine to do it.
And I think another thing too, let's take a look at another industry. What about the whole entertainment industry? I wonder what would happen then if automation took a hold of it. Would we even have movies? Would we have games? Would we have music? Would we have any of that? Because if everything is being replaced by robots, hypothetically, I wonder what would happen then. Actually.
Well, even if we create AI, can AI truly be creative?
And then it begs the question. I mean, if robots can't be creative, but they can be programmed to do the same steps that we may use with creating things. I'd like to assume that, let's take music for instance. I would like to assume that you can program a robot to create a sequence of notes with programming instructions on how to go from one note to the next, and then have it set to where it can randomly choose between some of these notes in certain patterns and then combine them in some way. And I feel like that would be the closest thing to actually acting creative like a human would, because that's basically what humans do with music. A lot of times we just pick sequences of notes that we know go well together in certain patterns and just sort of combine them. We mesh them together in random ways that sound good. And I feel like that's sort of what robots could do. We really went off topic earlier, didn't we?
Oh,
Oh, well. The human brain is just a machine. Well, it's not entirely just a machine. I look at it as sort of an organic machine.
Well, it's even more than that, because we don't know what consciousness is.
That is true. We don't.
Like that's a huge, huge mystery, and that's a really big deal.
Like, what does it mean to be alive, and what does it mean not to be? Does it just mean?
Well, that's
that
the thing.
Are...
I mean, it's not all that hard to create a machine replica of how the human brain works, but it doesn't work like a human brain does, even though it's quote unquote physical. I mean, it's not, it doesn't have nerves and neurons, but you can structure the combination of, silicon chips and all this. I mean, they can use other substances and things like that to literally recreate exactly how the brain works, one for one. And yet it's not like you turn it on and then all of a sudden there's a person talking to you or anything like that. It's nowhere even close. So it's until we discover more about what consciousness is, that's going to be a big hurdle in any sort of replication of our type of intelligence into an artificial being.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I don't even know if we could understand what consciousness was, if we'd even be able to actually understand it or obtain that knowledge. I mean, we might be able to, but I don't know if we'll be able to fully understand it, because that's kind of a hard thing to sort of grasp, is, you know, the meaning of the existence of the way you think and basically do everything.
That's kind of not right, because we are born with sexual instincts. They just don't manifest until puberty.
That is true.
That's like saying you're not born with facial hair or pubic hair or armpit hair. It's, well, no, yes you are. It's just they don't appear until puberty. Well, okay, but that doesn't mean you're not born sexual. You are born sexual. It just doesn't manifest until later in life. Just like, a whole bunch of things don't manifest till later in life.
Oh, hi, Chris. You joined in at the appropriate time. People are born pedophiles or zoosex. The fuck is zoosex? I mean, okay, whatever.
Attracted to animals. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought there was a different word. I mean, I assumed what it was, but
well, there's bestiality, but that's the actual act itself. That's not that's a question that's well, it's gonna hurt the radical liberal left.
You think that it's a mental disorder?
Well, because they say that sexuality is something you're born with. Okay, well, that means that pedophiles and zoosexuals are born with that too.
I think
so.
I think it can be both.
Well, yeah, it obviously is. It's a mixture of both, but it's not like even within heterosexual males, right? You don't even choose who you're attracted to. Like, some people are attracted to redheads, or some people are attracted to blondes. It's not like you chose that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's I don't know. What pisses me off is that all of the research, especially into pedophilia, because if there's anything that we need to understand more, it's that. Because if there's any way to, like most of the research shows that most pedophiles, whether it's a large or a little, in part due to genetics or something like that, what makes it so that some people are and some people aren't is the majority of pedophiles were sexually exploited when they were children, and the younger they are, the more of the chance that the groups that were exploited younger have higher percentages that end up being pedophiles than the groups who are, so if you were 6, it's a much higher chance than if you were like 16. And so like what was it, the Japanese prime minister was asked how come their rape rates are so low, and his answer was they jail female rapists so that they can't prey on young boys and young adult men, and so then they don't grow up to be rapists. And I think that's absolutely correct.
Is that actually a big statistic?
Yeah.
of-
It's
Really?
almost, and that's the thing. It's the younger that you are, the more likely you are to be a pedophile, and the older you are, the more likely you are to be a rapist.
No,
If
I mean,
if you're sexually taken advantage of.
no, the women's statistic is that a huge enough statistic?
Oh
Women
yeah.
raping men.
Oh yeah.
Really? I
90
would.
93% of rape that occurs within juvenile detention facilities is an adult female guard on a male inmate,
Really?
even though female guards are the vast minority of the it's
Wow.
mostly male guards, but yeah. And just look at all the female teachers that are caught raping their students.
I didn't think it was that high of a number.
It's men are more likely to be rapists of adults. Women are way more likely to be pedophiles.
Wow.
Yep.
I would I would never have assumed that.
Most people don't, but yeah.
See, that really pokes a hole in a lot of theories then. See, I used to believe that men were most likely to be rapists. Women were most likely to be raped and things like that. I thought that was the one leftist thing that was truthful.
Yep.
Look at that.
Feminist propaganda. Women are victims. Hey, no, they're if you look at most of the statistics, it's just about 50-50 for everything.
And see, I would have assumed that the number would be closer to the amount of like if you were to say men being raped is closer to the amount of women that are being raped. If you were to take in prison statistics, yeah, I could see that. So I'd actually,
Even in regular prison, now I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's the majority. It's not nearly as much of a majority, but I think it is the majority. But at the very least, a huge portion of uh, prison rape is female guard on male inmate, even in adult prisons.
I thought it was more. I thought the most like I thought not rape, men got raped more. Like prisoner on prisoner kind of thing.
That's
Like in
yeah,
showers.
yeah.
I thought that was the most common.
Nope.
Oh wow.
Yes, Garuda. It is hilarious watching all of the feminist articles on how horrible sex robots are and yeah, all that nonsense. It's just fucking hilarious. All of a sudden, like the best ones were, oh, can a sex robot clean or cook or raise your children?
I thought that was a stereotype we were trying to
Right
avoid.
after decades of feminists saying that women aren't supposed to clean or cook or take care of children. That's not what we're here for.
What's with the hypocrisy in the left? Like, what? Why? What is their goal?
Destruction of Western civilization.
In replacement for what? They're just gonna destroy that too.
Well, they're gonna bring about the communist utopia, don't you know?
They're gonna destroy that though, because then they're gonna just eat themselves alive.
Oh,
That's what the left always does.
that's true. But don't
I
tell
mean,
them that. They've got their utopia to bring about, and nothing's gonna stop them.
the problem is you come up with one utopia, then there's gonna be someone that says, yeah, this is nice and all, yeah, this is great for women, but how does it affect the black women? And then there's gonna be some other women that's like, yes, but what about the gay black woman? And then so on and so on.
What
It's
about
just
the
gonna
disabled gay black women?
yeah, or the trans disabled gay black women. It's it's just gonna get more and more, and that's just
That's
like
almost
an
like we
analogy.
should just leave it to the individual.
No, but what about but the collective though?
My collective.
But my manifesto.
It's fucking stupid.
It is. Wait, what? Hold on, let me look up. Order. Take out hire maid. Collective.
Oh.
Yeah, but Chris, that would be a problem though, because she would cook, clean, and be used as a sex object. We can't have that, Chris. Not in my feminist utopia. What about the little people? Do we build small things for them, or do we cage them? I mean, caging them doesn't seem like a bad idea. You know, we can have them fight to the death for entertainment in our utopia. That'd be kind of cool. Only the men though. Only the men though.
Yeah, that'll be a bad day, Shadowkin, if AI will be heavily involved in raising children. That's not going to work out well.
It already is with like what I was saying earlier. I mean, we're letting technology, which is just the first step. Kids always using like smartphones, tablets, playing them video games to an extent. Not saying that's inherently a problem. Just saying it's getting a little out of control, in my opinion. Like, there's nothing wrong with letting a kid watch, you know, like, or play a game or watch YouTube every now and then on like a phone or tablet. But if you're letting it become your babysitter, then yeah, I think that's a little unhealthy, just slightly. Oh, fun fact though, talking about what Garuda was saying about how he's arguing for what is it? Yeah, he's using this for science and religious ideology. So this is fun. So I have a funny story. I became part of a youth group at a local church, and only just so I could play in their band. The problem is the church is it's very cringy with a lot of the stuff that they do and believe in. I don't have a problem with people that are religious. I'm not very religious myself, but it's really, really weird going in there. It feels like a cult half the time I talk to these people. And I'm actually curious. Have you? What was the last time you went to a church, Pete?
Like regularly when I was like 12 or 13, but I've gone every once in a great while after that. Probably not for like 10 years though.
Because I had to go to the service that they had on Sunday just to keep up appearances. Because mainly I'm just going there because it's the only other place I know of with other people that play music and actually care about it. So I just went to their service, and it was really weird in the way they talk about God. Like they infantilize God as this sort of, I don't know, sort of like this figure that they should give everything to. Sort of like you know how like in a lot of movies how people stereotype cults as sort of their deity. They give everything to this deity, all like everything. That's sort of how it felt like whenever they're talking about God. It felt really, really odd and uncomfortable. I believe in church's chicken.
I like Popeyes.
Popeyes is really good. Yeah, that's free will. That's the problem. I've heard many things. Like I've talked to a couple of Christian people at my school, and they say, and they sort of contradict that idea. They say, yeah, people have free will, but if they don't do the right things, then they go to hell. Well, then what's the point of having free will? And this started up as a conversation. Someone, I don't know what it was. Someone brought up transgender people, and then they talked about gay people, and then they said, I think someone brought up the argument of if you know being gay is a sin, why'd God make them gay? And they said no, it's a free will thing. And that just sort of boggles my mind about the idea of Christians have. It's like, yes, God gave you the will to choose, and you know if you don't choose what God wants, then you burn eternally in hell. Even though it may not be a bad thing you chose, but God didn't like it, so burn in hell. I take
Jordan Peterson's view on religion.
don't entirely know his beliefs on religion. Actually, I don't think I've watched a couple of his videos on religion, but from what I remember, I was either A, half asleep, or B, I didn't really understand anything that he said. But it sounded very convoluted what he said.
Kinda. I mean, it's a pragmatic view, and that's the thing. Like,
I think, Go-Get, I think what you mean is when people say that there's studies about what your mind knows, what you'll do before you even realize it. I think that's just your mind getting into a pattern of doing things every day, because in today's society, we pretty much do things very regularly. We wake up, some of us go to work, go to school, in the same order of doing things, same way, same route, same everything. You do some of the same things in the morning. And I think that's sort of why we sort of know what we're going to do like a week later to an extent.
well, even beyond that, like, you are not under your own control, not completely,
You're right.
because, I mean, this is how people they'll make a New Year's resolution to go to the gym, but then they don't. Or,
Yeah.
you try and quit smoking and you can't, or, there's a whole bunch of, like, you can't just give yourself orders. So free will is not completely, nobody has complete free will over their actions.
And I agree with you to an extent. And in replying to what Cyrus said, I think the way I see this sort of similar. I'm sort of, I guess, somewhat agnostic about the idea of there being a God. I wouldn't disbelieve it, but I have no way of actually believing it. Everything that supports my belief is completely, personal things, and things that may just be coincidences, but pretty damn coincidental to be, otherwise uninfluenced. But then again, they may just be coincidences. But it's things like that you can't exactly use as evidence that sort of supports a personal belief of mine. Is there a God? I'll probably never know. But it's something that, to what I believe, is if there is a God watching over everybody in a certain way, I think.
Well, that's the thing. Regardless of whether there's an actual deity, whether there's an actual, oh God, this is so fucking complicated. But
I know.
so, even if there's no such thing as an actual deity who, in the sense that a religion says, is an intelligence that watches over and all this other stuff, the concept of what God does exists, because society is always constantly watching over you and judging your actions. And even if there's no intelligence directing the universe, there is still something, whether it's just random chance and physics, something caused whatever happened that started the universe to happen, and then certain things happened, and eventually we get suns and planets and galaxies and all the infinite number of variables that led up to until the point where you were born. Something directed that. So in some sense, it really doesn't matter if there's a quote unquote God or not, because everything that God encapsulates as a concept exists. It exists, and it's outside of our understanding, and that's why people classify like that. That's why things like anger, that's why there was things like a war god, a god of anger, rage, war, and stuff like that, because
abstract concepts
but not just that, because it exists in all people. It exists for all time. It can take over you and direct your actions. Like, it's something outside of you that exists in everybody that can affect the world and take over your, you can get so enraged that you murder somebody or something like that, something you'd never do normally. And that's why those were thought of as gods for the longest time, because it's outside of the human understanding.
And and that's sort of and that's not a bad way of looking at it, because the way I've sort of seen it is, like I said earlier, with with the idea of God watching over everybody, it seems like he gives everybody somewhat of a chance to sort of, and this is hypothetical, of course. Let's just say, he watches over everybody, guides everybody, and sees which path they go down, and depending on what people do in response, depending on which path they go down, I think that may determine some things in some people's lives. Then again, this is going off of just somewhat personal things happening to me, that may be very much just coincidence and completely meaningless, or they could be something else. I don't know. And quite frankly, I'll probably never know. And for me, at least, I don't like the idea of going off of something like that and saying, oh yes, I absolutely know the truth to everything. There is a God. He plans everything for me. I don't like going off of that and saying that and then preaching it to people. Because I think the idea of what you believe in as far as God goes is completely between you and really just whatever connection you feel as though you have. Because that's been the biggest problem with religion, in my opinion, was with what people believed in. Maybe they're not wrong, maybe they are wrong, but I don't like the idea of, regardless of you going out and preaching it to other people, as though your experiences hold full merit and control over other people's lives. Not only that, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. I'm just going to end it there for now.
I mean, it's tough because without a shared cultural narrative, cultures don't survive. And that's why you see people turning things like veganism into a straight up religion. And they really have. Like, they're starting to proselytize and just like the worst, religious people who think that they are completely morally superior to somebody because they believe in a certain religion. Vegans have started to completely espouse their total moral superiority over everyone else because they follow the tenets of their religion.
Yeah. And that's sort of the problem that I've had with religion, is just people don't seem to really kind of understand that they feel as though they have this sort of belief and say, oh, this makes total perfect sense to me. Why doesn't everybody think like me? And then they sort of grow an obsession with their belief. And this happens in pretty much everything. I mean, just politics. It's even happened in gaming, the whole PC versus console thing. People sort of have the same mentality in a way. Oh, you don't think like me in the way I believe? Well, you're just worse than me. You're just inferior to me, People had that whole debate for years. And I feel like religion is sort of the biggest, how do I put it, the biggest thing whenever it comes to that, because religion sort of started that whole, I think I know what's right, and if you disagree with me, then then you're obviously wrong, because how could you not believe what I believe, And I think that's sort of it, because the way I see it is, if there was a God, let's take the Christian God, for instance. I don't understand why a God like that would be so much against you questioning his authority and trying to understand more about things and why they do it. Because in the Bible, even, it says, don't question God, for we cannot understand what he's doing. You know, it bothers me that a God would not want you to question it.
Well,
And it's little things like that.
well, that's the thing. It's not like
Oh damn! I see chat's going all crazy.
um, because like that goes back to the story of Cain and Abel, where Cain and Abel are both making sacrifices. God accepts Abel's sacrifices, but not Cain's, and Cain asks God what's going on with this, and God basically tells him, or it's a little more than that. It's Cain asks God what's going on and how come his sacrifices aren't being honored like Abel's are, and basically says, you know, what kind of stupid world is this that you've set up that my sacrifices aren't accepted but my brothers are? And God basically says to him, before you should set your own house in order, you should get yourself sorted out, and stop worrying about it's like man, Jordan Peterson does a way better job of explaining it, but it's kind of like his whole thing about you should clean up your room before you try and protest the inner workings of capitalism. You know, because there's a million things that you could do that would make your life better and the lives of everybody else around you better before you can start questioning the nature of reality and how the universe is set up.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what they were going for when it was the whole, it wasn't so much don't question God, don't ever, you know, entertain the idea of, you know, what is God, or, you know, anything like that. It's more of the idea that I mean, basically it's the universe is the way it is, so there's no sense whining about it. But to, you know, for a more like a more because saying it that way is just, you know, basically slapping somebody across the face with it. The better way is you know, look, as screwed up as the universe may be, you know that you're not exactly doing everything you could do. So who are you to sit there and question the very nature of reality when there's a whole bunch of things you could do to make it better that you aren't doing?
Okay. Yeah, that's a different way of looking at it, and I like that. Because the way I always saw it was, oh, what was I gonna say? Shit, I'm getting tired. I'm starting to lose my train of thought more easily. Okay, the way I saw it was, you know, the more you start questioning God, the more you start losing faith and defying Him, which can lead you down, you know, dark paths and things like that. Ultimately, lead you to do things that were unholy, quote unquote, things that may seem innocuous, but because they go against religion, that could lead you to, you know, bad life, having a bad life, which some things probably would, but the whole burning eternally thing that sort of got, you know, that sort of got it a little conflated as well. Mainly, I think the only reason that is sort of perpetuated is because there's a lot of radicals out there that sort of have that notion where any little thing you do that contradicts the Bible in any certain way, and you're going to hell.
Well, that's
Things like that.
it's really hard to separate because it's in some sense this is the rational atheist ish type's fault, because the more they mocked and belittled religion, the more the religious went more and more fundamental to counteract that. So, and that's the thing, it's like all of the sins that are laid out in the Bible certainly are things that will lead you towards a hellish existence on earth.
Well, I know a lot of things stated are somewhat symbolic, like the idea of angels and demons. I've sort of seen them as angels are people that do good, while demons are the people in society that do terrible. Hell is a place on earth that you created, while heaven is sort of a state of mind in a way from doing many good things. You know, someone who's grown old in their later years, you know, if they've done nothing but good deeds, they sort of have a very healthy life. You know, they have many friends, people that they can rely on. You know, they have a very prosperous life. It's heaven, quote unquote. But if you do very terrible things, make a lot of enemies, do terrible things, you know,
Exactly.
you create a hell for yourself.
I mean, that's the thing. How else could you conceptualize it in a way that resonates with somebody enough to where they understand? I mean, you got to. I love Jordan Peterson's, like, he goes through the idea of sacrifice and how human sacrifice and animal sacrifice and all that kind of stuff, those were stepping stones on the path from not even understanding what the future was to the abstract idea of you can sacrifice something in the present and gain in the future. You know, you can sacrifice and not pursue impulsive pleasure and work hard at, say, university or school, or, you know, developing your skills in some sort of field or something like that, and in the future you will benefit from that sacrifice. And that's, once you look at everything in the Bible as an extension of that these were difficult abstract ideas to articulate, that before we had the capability of actually talking about them from a linguistic standpoint, you know, first we would do something like dramatize them. We would do song and dance and ritual like that. And then they became just stories, which then evolved into the collection of stories that became something like the Bible. And those were all stepping stones along the way, like like starting from the idea of human sacrifice or something like that, moving on to like animal sacrifice, and then finally coming to the more sophisticated version of you can sacrifice abstractly in the present to gain benefit in the future.
Yeah. And you know, this is also another thing too about atheism that I've sort of had a problem with is I never really liked the idea of saying I was an atheist, because that just also sounds like a very simple way of saying I don't want to talk about religion. I know it's not a end all be all way of saying it, but it always seems like people don't want to look too much into it. They just want to say there is no God, there is nothing, done in a discussion.
What I've seen a lot of is, because I was just having a bunch of these arguments with some people on some videos on YouTube, and because you'll lay out like, oh man, what was the? I think I can. The comment should be really close.
Optimistically, don't believe them.
Come on, load up the comment. Seriously, there we go. So we were going on about what God is and does it exist and blah blah blah, and it eventually came to the point where okay. You could just as easily call God a hierarchical system of cause and effect consisting of various inputs, individual choice across time, along with sociological, cultural, biological, and physical forces, which ultimately is not only responsible for where each person finds themselves throughout their lives, but influences their actions to some degree or another. Or in other words, an unseen force that for all intents and purposes is omnipotent with, as far as humanity or as far as a human or humanity is concerned, unlimited power that directs the universe at its whim, whatever that may be, and acts as an eternal judge of our behavior, as the eternal collective representative of the social structure and hierarchy. Golly gee, that sounds an awful lot like a god to me. And so you explain it like that, and they go, well, sure, but why do you have to call it God? And that's when I kind of had a little epiphany where it really has nothing to do with the God, or even really in belief and faith, because those same people who will say that it's illogical and stupid and primitive to believe in a God or a heaven or a hell are more than willing to believe that because of string theory, there are 10 extra dimensions that we aren't able to access, and there are particles that behave in ways that are completely contradictory to the way that we see the universe to behave, and all these other things, which are no more or less built on faith than a religion. And it really is about intellectual arrogance for a lot of these people. They want to be able to say that, look at those stupid, primitive humans back then who were so silly and believed in something like a god. I'm totally superior to those people. Because you can outline a definition of God that completely matches all scientific. I mean, there was nothing that was irrational about my definition, and it is, for all intents and purposes, the exact same thing that people talk about when they say God. When a religious person says God, they're talking about all the exact same things that I laid out in my definition. So there's nothing irrational or illogical or unscientific about what I outlined, and it is just as powerful and meets all the same criteria that a religious person would claim when they were speaking about God. And the only thing they have a problem with is calling it God.
Yeah.
And I can't see of any other reason for that. I mean, that's why when Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris talked, they got so hung up on small things like the definition of truth. Because if you're trying to posit, if your definition of something like, say, God can't be reduced down to the flying spaghetti monster in the sky, then those atheist types won't accept it, because then they can't say, well, I don't believe in that, and those idiots back then did. Aren't I so much smarter than they are?
And that's all it really comes down to, is just the idea of saying, well, you don't believe what I do, therefore you're wrong. Look how much smarter I am. I mean, even religious people do that. They say, oh, I found the truth and honesty through God. And if you haven't, then that just means that I'm a higher level than you of thinking. Obviously, not all do that, but it has been done many times in the past. And it's, I mean, that's literally with anything. That's not just religion. That's with any line of thinking. And like you said, vegans did that for a little bit. Oh, what you eat animals? What are you, a cruel person? Look how much of a better person I am. I don't eat meat. You know, it comes back to the idea of people wanting people, or I think it comes down to the idea of people find something that they believe in so much and so wholeheartedly, to where the idea of other people not agreeing with them creates this us versus them mentality, where they have to have everybody think the same, and they don't know why.
Oh yeah, same thing. It's the same thing in the Soviet Union.
Yeah. I mean, politics, religion, lifestyles, anything, literally anything, even fucking video games turned into this to an extent.
Oh.
It's just that mentality of, if you don't believe what I believe, then you're obviously against me. Sky Daddy.
Yeah, it's silly.
Cloud cousin.
Yeah, Ryan, there was an article I just saw where what was the thing where like trees and stuff can communicate with each other through the leaves or the roots, and they can do calculations. And there's a bunch of other stuff, like there's a certain fig tree that wasps like to use their fruit to grow their larva, but they're not like bees where they have to pollinate the flowers, but they can. And the the wasps will pollinate the flowers and then use the figs to grow their larvae. But the tree knows whether or not the wasps have pollinated the flowers or not. And if the wasps don't pollinate the figs and lay their eggs, then the trees will turn their fruits toxic and kill the larva.
Really?
Yeah, so it's mutually assured destruction.
Wow.
So there's more and more evidence that plants are a lot more intelligent, if you could say that, than we give them credit for. So I don't know what the fuck the vegans are gonna do.
Well, I mean, I knew plants were living. They were obviously living creatures too, to an extent. So the idea of saying eating animals kills live creatures, well, I mean, you're doing the same thing when you eat plants. Just, everything that, well, not everything you eat, but a lot of things that you eat are were at one point some sort of living creature, and that's just sort of the natural order of things.
Yep. They just need to give it up, because to exist is to subsist on the destruction of other things around you. It's just a fact of life. That's how everything survives.
You destroy and then rebuild, and then you just create something new with it. That's actually a lot of ways of the that's sort of the cycle of society in a way. You build, it's destroyed, and then you rebuild.
And that's not even considering, like, they don't even, 'cause they love to go in, oh, you know, you got to kill the cows and the chickens and the blah blah blah. Well,
Always the cows. Always the cows.
well, they don't even go into, they don't even consider, like, it's in the billions of small animals like rabbits and squirrels and mice and rats and stuff and gophers are killed when the combine harvesters harvest all the grain and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a horrendous amount of small wildlife is killed for farming. So they are not nearly as
Benevolent as they
yeah,
seem.
yeah. It's unless you're growing it yourself and picking it yourself. Yeah, there's just
You know, funny enough, I actually know quite a few kids at my school because we live in a somewhat rural area. I mean, we're about 45 miles away from like, Louisiana, and a lot of people around here they actually have their own farms. Well, either them, their parents, or their grandparents do. A lot of them raise their own cattle to be sold and butchered for the meat. A lot of them grow plants and stuff like that. They have their own agriculture. And the way they talk about it, they don't talk about it like, oh yeah, we just killed a bunch of steers. They actually, they sort of grow attachments to these animals as well, but they know that they just, they grow them to an extent, and then they sell them and whatnot. And it's not, every time a vegan brings up the whole process, they treat it as this heartless thing. But talk to these people who've actually done it. It's kind of fascinating to get in the life of someone who actually raises cattle just for the purpose of them to be sold and butchered and killed. I mean, I've talked to quite a few people. They said they had to give up a steer, and they cried over giving up cows because they've grown attachment to them. And it really paints a different picture than what you probably would know as a you in the general sense, not you personally, but But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point.
it's just guilt.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is.
They're it's like it's a guilt over the destructive element of life. And so they try and make themselves feel better by attempting to minimize their destructive impact. But I mean, it's just futile.
And that begs the question. Smaller animals are eaten by bigger animals. And that's what their life serves the purpose of. That makes me wonder, what do we serve the purpose of? What leeches off of, or what benefits off of our destruction?
Depends on what you mean by benefit.
Well, like for instance, if a snake were to eat, a mouse or something, the mouse's destruction is being benefited for the snake. The snake is benefiting off of the destruction of the little mouse's life. Smaller animals are eaten by bigger animals.
Right.
So that makes me wonder, what are we then? What are we in that cycle?
Apex predators.
So we don't have anything that really benefits from us, from the destruction of us, or subsides, I guess, would be the better term, I guess, for that. We don't. I mean, it makes sense. We don't have anything, but still.
It's apex predators die, and then scavengers feed off their carcass. Flies and other insects break it down, and then the decomposition eventually benefits the plants.
Okay, so
yeah,
we just go back down the ladder.
Exactly. Everything circles back around eventually.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And if you think about it even more, humans, well, actually, there are other animals that do this to a small degree, but we're the ones who have really started doing it. But when we domesticate plants and animals, the plants and animals are making an evolutionary trade-off. So like dogs are an easy example. Dogs give up their quote unquote freedom, so to speak, and they give up some of their aggressive tendencies and some other things like that. But in return, they get taken care of. You know, we provide shelter and food and all that.
Yeah. And Chris has a good point. We're hunted as well to an extent, yeah, but we're hunted mainly by each other and not for.
Well, I mean, like yes, now because we're so protected in cities, we don't have a whole lot of animals that predate on us. But I mean, way back when, wolves and bears and all sorts of animals. But you know, you'd say the exact same thing. You know, they all will hunt each other if, you know, given the opportunity. So yeah, it's.
Mhm. Because bears will fight each other, and they'll fight each other to the death at times for territory or for other reasons. I mean, obviously they're not going to eat each other, but you know, sort of the same thing nowadays. You know, people would kill each other for monetary gain or territory or really whatever values they believed in. Sort of similar to animals, I'd like to think. I mean, you see many animals fighting in the wilderness over something. Most of the time it's food, but you know. But that sort of goes mates, yeah. They don't really fight over land, or you know what I mean, like not really land, but just areas.
Some do, mostly cats, wolves.
Yeah,
because those are real territory animals.
They'll find a place for their pack to lay down and stay, and then if another pack comes in, then they pretty much started a gang war. I'm just picturing wolves strolling by in the wilderness doing fucking drive-bys now.
Well, all right. It's been like 3 hours, and I'm getting tired.
What time is it? It's got to be like what? Oh, it's only 1 in the morning. Are you serious? I was expecting it to be like 3 or 4. I can literally hear birds chirping outside as if it was morning. Oh well. Anyway.
But yep. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see y'all next week.
All right. Peace.
Peace.